Some games are so bad that you can play them for only a minute or two and just know automatically that they're going to be a worthless piece of crap. And the Fall Guy definitely belongs in that category. Honestly, this game is so fucking bad that I don't know why Elite even bothered to buy the license for the TV show, much less make the damn thing. I didn't think the Fall Guy was that popular back in the 80s, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was. So anyway, let's get into it. The Fall Guy for the Commodore 64. Since the game came out back in 1984, I'm willing to cut the graphics some slack. But having said that, even for the time period, some of these graphics still look pretty shitty. In particular, I'll focus on Lee Majors' character. This thing doesn't even look anything remotely like Lee Majors from the TV series. He looks all fat and gray and white. Christ, he doesn't look like Lee Majors. He looks like a fucking medieval serf or Quasimodo. At least in the Aliens game, they tried to make the main character look a little like Ripley, but here, forget it. And what's even worse is that the scenery actually looks pretty good. It seems like they spent so much time on the mountains and the lake and the trees and the train that when they got to the main character they said, "Oh, fuck it, just put a gray hobbit in there, no one's gonna care." Oh, and I love how they put Elite on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Let me tell you something, this game is pretty fucking far from Elite. And if I were this game company, I would not be emblazoning my name all over this piece of shit. As for the controls, I can't complain about them too much, because there's really not much there to begin with. You use the left and right directional buttons to move back and forth, and the control button to jump. And that's it! One complaint I do have about the controls is that they're very slippery. Since the character can't stop on a dime, you can sometimes lose a life by accidentally sliding off a platform. Now the controls aren't as bad as, say, Darkman or RoboCop 2 for the NES, but it's still pretty annoying nonetheless. But when it comes to badness, the controls have nothing on the gameplay. Actually, I'm not even sure if gameplay is the right term, because this is a game that you can hardly play. Your job in this game is to perform stunts for a movie and earn money. You start the first level, or scene, on top of a train tunnel. Once the scene starts, you have to go onto the top of the train and jump over obstacles. And every time you successfully jump over an object, you get $100 or points. This money is added to the capital on the lower left-hand side of the screen. But your capital is constantly going down because it costs money to film. And to beat the level, you have to have some money left by the time the shooting is over. Whatever you have left is your salary for the shoot. So to make any money, you have to keep hopping across shit over and over again. I don't know what kind of fucking movie would accept a stuntman hopping over smokestacks repeatedly, but there you go. Anyway, your time limit for the level is represented by the remainder display. But get this, for the time to go down, you have to be on the train. In other words, if you stay on top of the train tunnel, the timer won't go down and you won't make any money. Basically, the gameplay boils down to you running back and forth like an idiot and jumping over shit. I'm not kidding, that's all you do throughout the whole fucking level. You just run back and forth across a train and jump over shit. And as if that's not bad enough, then there's the bird with the boulder. This fucking vulture flies over every few seconds and tries to drop a boulder on your fucking head. Now this might not be so bad if they gave you some time to adapt to it. But no, they don't do that. Instead, the moment that the level starts, a bird flies over and drops a boulder on your fucking head. What the fuck?! I don't get a chance to so much as fucking fart and I lose a life. And that's not the worst part, oh no. The worst part is that if you don't move immediately, you can lose all your lives in under 10 seconds. Don't believe me? Here, I'll show you. How in the hell am I supposed to get used to the controls and the gameplay if the game's gonna kill me off in under 30 seconds? I guess this game comes from the sink or swim school of gameplay. And trust me, brother, you're gonna be sinking a lot. And even if you manage to get used to running right from the start, you still can fail in a number of other ways. If you jump into an obstacle, you lose a life. If you jump too close to an obstacle, you lose a life. If you fall off the train, you lose a life. If you go too close to the train tunnel, you lose a life. If you run too far to the right, you lose a life. Oh, and let's not forget getting hit by a boulder from that fucking vulture. If this game came with an asshole, it would be shitting all over you right this second. The only advice I can give you for playing the game is simple. Just get used to failing. A lot. In fact, this game shouldn't have been called The Fall Guy. Instead, they should have taken the first L out of fall and replaced it with an I, because that's all this fucking guy can do in the game. And when you play this level, you're only given 3 lives, or takes, and once they're gone, it's game over. And the game designers are so fucking cheap that they don't even give you a game over screen. Oh no, it just cuts right back to the title screen. I guess they must have thought, well, you're going to be losing so much anyway, why put one in there? My biggest gripe about the gameplay is that it's repetitive as all hell. It gets very boring very fast when all you do for 90 seconds is run across trains and jump over shit. And since you're confined to one screen, it doesn't even feel like you're making any progress. All you can do is run down the clock and try not to screw up too many takes. And if you think the second level's gonna get any better, well, think again. It's the same shit as the first level, except instead of trains, there's minecarts. And instead of a bird with a boulder, there's some yahoo with a rock that he keeps throwing at you.
Wowee, this is really gaming excitement, huh, folks?
Seriously though, after the first level, I just had enough. This game is too fucking boring to continue. The rendition of the Fall Guy theme is the only thing about this game that doesn't make me want to bang my head against a wall repeatedly. Here, listen. It's not great, but it's alright. That's probably about the best Elite could do, so I'll leave it at that. I give this game my highest recommendation, if you want to feel like a failure for 20 minutes and accomplish nothing, that is. Otherwise, I definitely steer clear of this fucking dreck. So in conclusion, you would think the guys who made this game would have wanted to redact their credits from the title screen after finishing with this piece of shit. But oh no, they kept their credits right on the title screen in big letters, so now I know exactly who to blame. Thanks for the heads up, guys. While doing a review of the Running Man for the Amiga, I came upon what may be the stupidest fucking moment in a video game ever. And if it's not the stupidest fucking moment in a video game, it's gotta be at least in the top 5. Now I was going to incorporate this into the actual review, but there were so many screw-ups and so many problems that it would have added at least another 5 to 10 minutes to the video. So I thought, you know what, this is so fucking bad that it deserves its own video. It's really that fucking horrendous. So let's get into it. The stupidest fucking moment in a video game ever. The Running Man for the Amiga. Ta-da! Here it is, folks. The stupidest moment in a video game ever! It comes in the very first level of the Running Man, not even 5 minutes into it. You kick a dog, which of course engenders my sympathy, and then you get past this small part and come to this jump. This jump right here is the worst fucking moment in a video game ever. Doesn't look that bad to you? Well, just wait. It gets a hell of a lot fucking worse. This is one of these annoying jumps where your timing and your spacing have to be perfect. Period. If you are off so much as a millimeter, you are fucked. Now, in a good game with tight controls, this would be bad enough. But you put it in a game like the Running Man where the controls are like fucking cement, and you have the recipe for a fucking nightmare. When I first got to this jump, I screwed up a couple of times. I thought, okay, it's likely my fault. I'm just not used to these shitty controls yet. Like this part here, I ran too fast and I fell off the edge before I can jump. Fine. Or this part here where I jumped too soon and fell into the second pit. So I figure, okay, I'll inch my way carefully to the edge of the first platform, then jump onto the second one, inch my way to that edge, and then jump again and I'll make it. Wrong! Try again, asshole! Look at this shit. Look at it. My foot is inches away from touching the platform. Inches, then all of a sudden I just slip and fall into the pit. You would think the momentum of my jump would be enough to propel me to the other side, but oh no, I just slip off. To be fair, the platforms are ice, so you could make an argument that, well, you slipped, so it was your fault. But if you look closely at the footage, you'll see that it's not the ice that actually makes me slip. It's as if I hit an invisible fucking wall and get knocked back into the pit. So it's not the ice that's the culprit, it's really bad programming. Despite that, I figure, okay, if I'm really careful, I think I can make it across. And one of the few saving graces of this part, if you can call it that, is that when you fall into a pit, you don't immediately die. You just go back to the beginning and lose a little health. By this point, though, I'm starting to get really pissed, and I'm about ready to quit. But I think, okay, persevere, just go really carefully, and you should be alright. So back to the jump. And then this really surreal shit starts happening. I get to the edge of the second platform, then turn around to go back and give myself a little running space. And then this happens! I literally float off the platform for a split second and then I fall into the pit. What in the name of holy fucking hell is going on here? What the fuck is this? The leap of faith test from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? I just fucking float out into the air! How in the fucking hell could these programmers let this shit slide? Alright, deep breath. Try it again. And again this shit happens, only this time I'm not touching anything, so I literally just float in space over the pit, like it's a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. I don't touch anything for a little bit, but the moment I press left to get back on the platform, poof, I fall into the pit again. If I had the sense that God gave gerbils, I would say fuck this shit, I'm not playing this glitched piece of junk anymore. But oh no, curious stupid me, I gotta keep at it. From that point, I don't know how many more times I tried this jump. 20, 30, 50, 100? Christ, after like fucking 30 times I lost count. And every single time, fail. 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 In most good games, they try to ease you into the challenge. But not this one, oh no. It presents an impossible fucking jump not even 5 minutes into it. No matter what I fucking do, I fail. I crawl to the left edge of the second platform to try to get some running space, and I fall off. I try to run, jump quickly onto the second platform and keep running and then jump to the third, and I still fall into the pit. Have you ever in your life seen such a pissy jump as this one? If they took out the second platform and just had you do a running jump to the right side, it would be so much easier. But oh no, it's as if they're tormenting the player saying, haha, you have to jump onto the second platform, asshole. Then I try to crawl to the left edge again, and it's as if an invisible hand pushes me off the platform and into space, and I'm just fucking crouching in open space, not falling or anything. And then when I stand up, I'm fine until I try to move left or right. Then I fall into the pit again. Or there's this lovely part where I crawl out into open space for a split second, then fall into the pit. Or this wonderful bit right here where Arnie floats in space for a split second, then gets caught in an invisible earthquake and falls into the pit. I just love the posture that Arnie has as he's falling backwards with his hand thrown out like he has a case of the vapors or he's bidding someone adieu. Farewell! Ah! I have a theory. I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but here's what I think. I think that they wasted so much of this game's memory on the foregrounds and backgrounds and making them look all nice and the digitized opening that by the time they got to the collision detection aspect of the game, they had almost no memory left. So they probably went to a huddle and one of the guys said, oh shit, we don't have enough memory for good collision detection. And one of the other guys said, oh, who gives a fuck? We got Arnie's face on the cover. People will buy anything just as long as it looks nice. And everybody nodded and said, okay, that's good. So they half-assed their way through this part of the programming and thus we're left with a big pile of fucking shit. So after hours and hours and hours of failing, I finally figured out what you have to do to beat this jump. You're gonna love this. You have to use the game's fucked up physics to get you across. Once you get onto the second platform, you have to run out into open space for a split second and jump off open space to get to the other side successfully. In other words, you have to ignore the laws of physics and your own common sense to beat this jump. Yeah, that's real great fucking programming. Hallelujah! I finally made it after what, 500 fucking attempts? And that's not the biggest kicker of all. You wanna know what is? This is the only jump with a pit in the entire fucking game. There are other jumps in the game, but none of them are over a bottomless pit. So my question is, why fucking put it there in the first place? What, were they trying to be fucking cute or something? These goddamn fucking shit-licking cocksuckers! Alright, calm down. It's not like they hammered a flagpole up my ass and hoisted me into the air. It's like Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Of course, if Jesus played this game, I think he'd say, fuck that turning the cheek shit, I'm gonna piss all over this fucker. Oh, and here's one last little kick in the nuts for you. You want to know what company published this game? Grand Slam Entertainments. Grand Slam Entertainments? Are you fucking kidding me? This game doesn't even qualify as a fucking bunt. Maybe they should have retitled this company Strikeout Entertainments, or better yet, Shutout Entertainments. At least that would have been accurate advertising. So in conclusion, I must have been off my fucking rocker to keep on playing this game after that fucking jump. But hey, you know me, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'll have the rest of this review out just as soon as I get done banging my fucking head into a brick wall. After the aggravation of the jump from hell, I was about ready to give up on this review. But that moment was so horrible that it almost had me intrigued. I was like, could the game get any worse than this? So I said, alright, if I see one more jump like this, I'm out. And as it turns out, there were no more jumps like this. But the game itself was so fucking terrible that I almost kinda wish I had quit in the first place. So anyway, let's get into it. The Running Man for the Amiga, the rest of the game. The graphics are one of the few things about this game that I actually like. The digitized opening with clips from the film is a nice touch, even though it's entirely superfluous. Also, the game gives you a quick clip of Ben Richards getting sent into the game zone. Again, it's not necessary, but I think it's a nice little detail nonetheless. As for the in-game graphics, I like the textures in both the foreground and the background. There's a good sense of depth to the world, and the graphics are gritty yet vibrant, very much in keeping with the style of the film's cinematography. Obviously, it's not a perfect recreation of the film's world, but then how could it be with the system's graphical limitations? Even so, the game designers did a really good job recreating the basic look of the film's universe. You can take one look at it and say, yep, that's Arnie, and that's the Running Man. And at least the game designers didn't make a garish eyesore whose color palette makes you want to puke. The only other positive point I will give for the game is that they actually bothered to try to recreate the plot of the movie. At least the second half of the movie, anyway. Just like the film, you go from zone to zone, bumping off stalkers as you fight your way to freedom. Once you defeat all the stalkers, you go back to the TV studio and defeat Damon Killian and all his guards and win the day. Hooray! It would be pretty hard to fuck up that concept, but of course if you give it to a bunch of bozos like the guys at Ocean, I'm sure they could find a way. So at least they got that part right, but as for the rest, forget it. The controls in the game are very sluggish. For example, when you throw a kick or a punch, there's a split-second delay between the time you hit the button and the time the character does the action on screen. And this delay makes it harder to fight because you have to time your attacks differently. Instead of hitting your enemy instantly, you have to press the attack button a split second before he's in range, otherwise you'll miss him. And this lag in the controls makes an already annoying game even harder to play. Another problem with the controls is that you have to press up in the control button to punch. Now this might not be so bad, but to jump you have to press up. So if you don't press up and control at the exact right time, your character ends up jumping instead of punching. And as you can well imagine, this is very annoying in the middle of a battle. They couldn't have used another fucking button on the keyboard to have the character jump, like the space bar or the shift key? No! He's gotta use the fucking control key for everything. Running is also annoying because to do it, you have to press left or right twice very quickly. If you don't do it fast enough, the character just keeps on sauntering along like his life isn't in danger. Actually, I don't even know why he's walking at all. The game's called The Running Man, not The Sauntering Man, or The Trotting Man, or The Light Spring in His Step Man, you fucking dipshits. An accurate title aside, where the game really starts to fall apart is in the gameplay. One of the biggest problems is that it's fucking boring. You run through mostly empty levels with no traps and very few obstacles and enemies. To be fair, the zones in the movie were pretty empty, but this is a case where I think they could have taken some liberties with the source material and made a much more exciting game. You know, some cannon fodder troops, a couple of machine gun turrets, a few flying bombs, anything but just fucking dogs and stalkers. It's only in the last level that you get to face some actual guards, and they aren't exactly the textbook definition of formidable opponents.
Run in one direction, fire my gun. Run in the other direction, fire my gun. Derp, derp, derp.
Great enemy AI there, very cunning. Speaking of AI and cunning, we come to the stalkers, and they ain't exactly Rhodes Scholars either. Take Buzzsaw for instance. He runs back and forth with his chainsaw, and he can cause you a lot of damage if he hits you with it. However, if you keep crouched all the time, the dumb fuck never bothers to lower his blade and slice you to ribbons. And you can take him out easily by throwing a brick repeatedly in his face. I guess he forgot that you can lower a chainsaw blade below your waist. Dynamo is a bit smarter because he can shoot you while you duck, but you can outwit him by standing until the last second before he fires, then ducking. However, this Raiden wannabe can be a real pain in the ass because if you go too far away from him, he'll chase you in his car and run you down. I don't know how that fat fucking light bright could get into his car so fast anyway, but whatever. Also, if you try to punch or kick him, he'll zap you, so you have to use a weapon against him. But once you get a weapon and nail his basic pattern down, he's really not that hard to defeat. You just gotta keep him on the screen so he doesn't run you over with that fucking car again. The same basic pattern applies to Sub-Zero in the first level. The only difference between him and the other stalkers is that occasionally he'll shoot an explosive puck at you and go, "Yeah!" like he's passing a kidney stone. In the fourth level you have Fireball, and like the other stalkers, he's not much of a threat. He fires a flame round that you can't duck, but then you can easily crawl under it, so where's the danger? Oh yeah, and he also flies back and forth with his jetpack like some retarded version of Boba Fett. He flies here, you hit him. He flies there, you hit him. You hit him, you hit him, you hit him. Am I still awake here? The only real danger in these fights is when you get a stalker and a dog at the same time. It's a really cheap-ass way for the game to give you just a little bit more challenge. Fortunately, you can knock the dogs out for a brief time, but they still are really annoying when they get back up. My biggest problem with these stalker fights is that they're just way too predictable and dull. Why couldn't the game designers give these characters less predictable patterns and more interesting attacks? But no, we gotta have the same boring, by-the-numbers boss battles made by game designers who have all the imagination of a fucking block of granite. And as if that isn't bad enough, the game also has sponsor interruptions. What do you mean by sponsor interruptions? Well, here's what it is. Imagine you're in a fight to the death with one of the enemies in the game, and then all of a sudden the game stops to show you advertisements. That's right, fake fucking advertisements right in the middle of a fucking battle. This is, without a doubt, one of the stupidest fucking ideas I've ever seen in a video game. Could you imagine playing Castlevania or New Super Mario Bros. Or Call of Duty Modern Warfare and then all of a sudden, out of the fucking blue, an advertisement appears out of nowhere and stops the fucking game? What were these fucking fart suckers smoking? Yes, there were satirical ads in the movie, but they didn't stop the fucking movie to show them! And this is not an isolated incident either. It pops up again and again in this game. If I had any goodwill left towards this game, it's long gone. The only reason I even bothered to finish this game was out of sheer spite. And even that was made more difficult because you only get one life in this game. Get killed at any point in the game and it's all the way back to the beginning again. Yep, that beginning with the fucking horrible jump. In between each round, there's a mini-game where you have to match the uplink code symbols on the left with the ones on the right. Now, when I first got to this point, I thought this mini-game was here to help you get an extra life or two. But frankly, I don't give a flying fuck about this part, and so I never bothered to beat it. Nor do I ever care to beat it, for that matter. Anyway, later on I looked up the manual, and as it turns out, you don't get an extra life if you do beat this mini-game. Instead, you just get your health bar restored, which is kind of fucking pointless considering that there's health packs right in the beginning of the subsequent levels. As for the music, it's really not that bad. The only problem is that it's looped over and over and over again until I want to shoot myself. I don't understand it. These Nimrods could waste so much fucking time on making the graphics look nice, but they couldn't bother to put any new fucking music in each level? What am I saying? These are the same fucking guys who put ads in the middle of a fucking battle. So after 4 levels of this mind-numbingly repetitive shit, you finally make it back to the studio. About the only good thing I can say for this part is that you finally get a gun. But they even have to make that part lame. Look at the way Arnie fires his gun. Have you ever seen such an awkward, unnatural way to fire a gun ever in a video game? It looks really, well, gay. Hold still, sweet cheeks, I'm gonna shoot you in the face! When you finally manage to plow your way through the Derp Squad, you reach the last boss. Or you would reach the last boss if there were one. Instead, you get Damon Killian. Whoop-de-shit. Alright, to be fair, it is accurate to the movie, and I'll give him credit for this. It is kind of fun to shoot him back into the rocket sled. But come on, they couldn't have tossed in one last token boss battle for the hell of it? Maybe a fight with a big robot or that steroid guy? Nope. Then again, maybe I should just shut the hell up and be grateful that the damn thing's over. The ending is not too bad, and at least they give you one, unlike, say, Red Heat. But even if it were the most spectacular ending on Earth, it's still not worth going through all the fucking bullshit in this game to get to it. If you really want to enjoy The Running Man, just go watch the movie or read the book. You'll be a lot better off, trust me. So in conclusion, this game is an irredeemable piece of fucking garbage that you should avoid at all costs. And if there is any fucking justice in this universe, hopefully the people who created this game have lost their jobs and are now doing something more worthy of their talents. Like shoveling cow shit into a ditch! Typically if I play a video game, I try to beat it. Obviously I don't always succeed, but I at least give it the old college try. Unfortunately, there are some games that 5 minutes in, I just know I'm not going to beat this game. And not only that, I don't want to beat it. Which brings us to today's subject, Secret Scout in the Temple of Demise. Or as I like to call it, Secret Scout in why the fuck did I even bother to turn this goddamn game on in the first place? So anyway, let's get into it. Secret Scout in the blah 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 bullshit, whatever the fuck its name is, yeah, it's fine, let's get on with it. The game starts you out in a jungle, and already you can see that the graphics are really shit. Look, I'm not asking for 1080p graphics here, but come on. Just a bunch of fucking green and brown blobs in the background. There's no texture, no depth. It looks like shit. It really does. Look at it. And before anyone comes back with the, oh well, it was the limitations of the hardware bullshit. No. Look at Batman. Look at Castlevania. Look at Contra. Those games came out before this one did, and their graphics are 100 times better than this fucking shit. And even if you want to ignore the background, fine. But look at the main character. Just look at him. What the fuck is he? Secret Scout? He's not a Secret Scout, he looks like a fucking Cabbage Patch doll. Either that or he's the younger brother of Sloth from the Goonies. Fuck, I can't tell. Jesus Christ, look at that fucking head of his. It looks like he's hydrocephalic or something, or he has a fucking balloon for a head. Oh, and you're gonna love his only attack. Watch this. Ugh. He kicks like a fucking retard. And that's it, folks. That's his only attack, the retard kick. Whoop-de-shit. Now, I can turn a blind eye to bad graphics if the controls are pretty good, but in this case, fucking forget it. It's a loss. When Retardo Baggins walks across the ground, he slips and slides all over the place. And if you'll recall my Darkman review for the NES, you know I just love games where characters slip and slide all over the fucking place. Seriously, what is so fucking difficult about having a character just stay put when he stops? In real life, when you walk around, do you just go, whoa, before you stop every time, or do you just stop? Forget walking, though. Jumping's even worse. When he jumps, it's like he's in 0G and you have trouble moving him back and forth. I don't know, it's like the weirdest fucking thing. It's like he's just floating in the ether. Next comes the gameplay. You head right and you gotta face off against one of the Indians from Apocalypto. And what's his attack, you might ask? Well, he just runs right up to you and tries to stab you with a knife. And look at Secret Skank's reaction when he's getting stabbed with a knife. Christ, it looks like he's having a fucking gas attack. But never fear, because our intrepid hero has the retard kick. And wham! The kid kicks the Indian back like he's the fucking Hulk. Seriously, do you know a lot of 8-year-olds who can kick, 30-year-old, 200-pound adults back 50 feet? Yeah, I know it's a video game and all, but come on, give me a fucking break, please. Oh, and you just gotta love this enemy AI. It's brilliant. You jump to another level, the enemy falls you, and you kick him. Rinse, lather, repeat. Nice to see that the Indian doesn't vary his strategy or throw his knife at you or do anything else except the same goddamn thing over and over again. And every time you bump off an enemy, a heart appears and allows you to restore one of your life points. So forget about any challenge. Not that I'm against getting health points back in games, but every fucking time you beat an enemy this happens. So where's the fucking difficulty? Then comes this next part which doesn't make a fucking lick of sense to me. You fight another Indian and then these fucking big-ass spikes come out of nowhere. Where the hell are these things coming from? What, did the Indians have rocket-propelled spikes hidden somewhere in the jungle? I don't even know what to say about this shit. I mean, fucking rocket-propelled spikes. It's like the fucking game designers just said, you know what? Fuck it, we're just gonna have rocket-propelled spikes in the game. Who gives a shit? Along with all the other insanity, you can add piss-poor hit detection into the mix. But then, should I expect so much out of a game where spikes fly across the friggin' screen for no discernible reason? Once the spike area is cleared, you come across this wacko in some chamber, and you got me? Who the hell he is? I don't know, Christopher Lloyd or something? Oh, and his attacks are lovely. Yahoo! I'm a knife guy! I'm gonna jump on you and try to stab you! And once again, 8-year-old Forrest Chump beats a 200-pound, fully trained adult with the retard kick. By this point, I'm seriously considering hitting the off button. It's enough. This game's just too fucking absurd, even for me. Still, I persevere in the hope that maybe, just maybe, there might be a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. After beating homicidal Doc Brown, you get a map and go to some other area, presumably the Temple of Demise. In this new area, you get a new type of enemy, which has the same exact pattern as the other enemies. What they are, I don't know, Teamsters, I guess? Because as we all know, a lot of Teamsters operate out of the middle of the Amazon jungle. Oh yeah, and there's birds too. Bald eagles. Nice. Thanks. Way to inspire my patriotism by beating up a symbol of American freedom. Besides these nuisances, there's the arrow shooting guys who shoot arrows in the exact same pattern over and over and over again. Whatever you do, please, don't shoot the arrows when I'm actually in range. Heaven forbid. Did I say there was a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow? More like a pot of shit. Speaking of excrement, by the way, here's the music. Oh Lord, this sounds like the music in Hell's Waiting Room. Not exactly the Raiders March now, is it? Getting back to the game at hand, once you get past Arrow Alley, you finally enter the Temple of Demise. And this is where the game lost me. Well, actually, it never had me to begin with, but if it did have me, this is where it would have lost me. You go down this long corridor, and then you end up in an identical corridor. And then you go down that corridor, and you end up in the same corridor. That's it. Fuck this piece of shit-sucking uselessness. I'm done with it. So in conclusion, don't even bother with this game. Just don't. It's not worth it. Aliens was a Famicom game that was supposed to come out back in 1987, but eventually it ended up not being released. But the MSX version, which is similar to this one in many ways, did manage to get a release in the same year. If I had to guess why the Famicom version didn't come out, I'd say because it was a shitty repetitive bore that's too easy to beat. While to be fair, this game does have some virtues, I feel that its flaws far outweigh them. So anyway, let's get into it. Aliens for the Famicom. One of the few good things about this game is that the graphics do look decent. In particular, the basic backgrounds recreate the look of the movie fairly well. For example, the earlier levels look similar to the exteriors of LV-426, as do the interiors of the colony and the alien lair. Some liberties were taken with the designs, obviously, but it's nothing grossly out of proportion to the film. Certain details such as the acid burns on the walls and the chestburster victims are particularly nice graphical touches. Another nice detail is when you kill the aliens. When you blast them, they explode and spray acid blood, just like the movie. One other bright spot in the graphics is the aliens themselves. The eggs, facehuggers, and aliens all look a lot like their movie counterparts. The only exception, oddly enough, is the Alien Queen. Although she does look mostly like her film counterpart, there are some details that look, well, odd. The way she moves is very spastic and unlike the film, almost as if she's suffering from Parkinson's disease. And I don't recall her tongue being that friggin' long in the film. Plus, the black background in the boss level is very underwhelming, especially when you consider the detail in the earlier levels. Would it have hurt them that much to put something in the background aside from black? My last complaint about the graphics is Ripley herself. Not that she's that bad looking, but I don't recall her wearing pink in the film. As I said in my Predator review, no army in their right mind is going to send soldiers out to war in fucking pink. Alright, technically Ripley's not a soldier, but still, pink? Come on, pick a better color. And finally, her animations seem a little bit too stiff, which is something that could also be said for the aliens. I think it would have worked better if they had made the characters move more smoothly, rather than like fucking automatons. As for the controls, they're not so great either. The jumping is especially odd. Ripley has a stiff jump that feels delayed for a split second after you press the button, and she moves rather heavily through the air. The physics of it just don't feel right, and it takes a little while to get used to it. Furthermore, there's another annoying part to the jumping. To jump higher and past certain obstacles, you have to collect boots. And no, I'm not fucking kidding. You have to destroy certain eggs and collect boots to reach high platforms. And if you don't do this, you're dead. So instead of playing aliens, I'm playing the fucking wizard of LV-426. And I suppose if I tap these boots together and say there's no place like home 3 times, I'll end up back on fucking Earth. Yeah, sure, whatever. Worse yet, to reach certain areas, you have to press up and jump at the same time and have Ripley do some kind of weird spin. Christ, look at this crap. It looks like the retard version of Samus's screw attack. And in some cases, she actually has to float through a platform to reach it. So great, now Ripley can phase through matter. Wonderful. Another problem is that sometimes certain objects are located in low, narrow spaces, and to reach them you have to press forward and jump repeatedly and jackrabbit through it. It feels very awkward, and after a while it starts to hurt your thumb. Couldn't they have added a crawl feature to the mix? Of course not! We have to make the controls as unnatural as possible! Shooting is really awkward too. You can shoot forward, ducking, and at a 45-degree angle, but you can't shoot at a 45-degree angle and walk or run at the same time. Wait a second here, hold on. You're telling me that you can shoot forward and walk at the same time, but not at an angle? Lord oh fucking mighty, in Contra and Christ knows how many other shooting games you can do this no problem. But in this game, no! You have to stop, point your gun upwards, and shoot. I don't fucking understand why they couldn't program in something so basic. But then again, you have to fucking bounce through goddamn narrow spaces, so I'm probably asking too much out of them. The gameplay is where Aliens really shines, like a turd in a mud patch. In the first level, you walk right, take out alien eggs and facehuggers, and collect weapons and upgrades. And what the fuck is Ripley doing all the way out here? I don't know, maybe she's taking a quick stroll around the planet before she heads back to the colony. Anyway, you jump across platforms and you take out the aliens. And to be honest, in this first part, the gameplay is not too bad. It just feels dull, almost like a slowed down version of Contra. There's none of the frenetic energy and excitement of that game. That's not to say that Aliens is unplayable, but even in this first level, I think I'd rather be playing Contra or some other faster-paced shooter. The second level, however, is where the game really starts to fall apart. At first it doesn't look too bad. You blast some more eggs and aliens and you jump over more pits. But then comes the doors. These fucking doors will become your own personal nightmare. As it turns out, the brilliant game designers decided to turn this level into a maze. Go through the wrong door and you end up back in the beginning or who the fuck knows where. Actually, this maze might have worked if the game had more of an RPG element, like collecting unique weapons or gaining experience points. But here it seems like a pointless diversion since weapon upgrades are available in the main corridor and you don't gain any experience, unless the experience of boredom counts. Even more annoying is the fact that the doors are useless. That's right, after failing a bunch of times you learn that you can just keep on heading right and bypass all this shit. So why fucking make the levels a maze at all? Probably to waste your time and make the game seem even more complicated than it actually is. At the end of the second level, you can take a door and go directly to the Queen Alien boss fight. Or as it turns out, you can jump through a wall and skip past it. That's right, you can skip the boss battle. But considering how redundant all the boss battles are, it's probably a good idea. I'll focus more on that aspect later in the review. Guess what the third level is? That's right, more doors! You know how I said that the makers of Star Wars for the NES had a spike fetish? Well, these game designers must have had a fucking door fetish! doors, doors, doors! For fuck's sakes, I don't think Legend of Zelda had this many doors. But unlike earlier, you have to go through these doors to escape the maze. And the enemies become even goofier. A big alien head? That's an enemy? Give me a fucking break. I guess a big alien head is their idea of creativity. And then the game pulls cheap crap like this. You go through a door, and wham! An alien head attacks you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Cheap ass shit. I hope nobody tries to do a no-hit playthrough of this game, because they're going to be in for a real big fucking disappointment. Stupider yet is this part. There are 2 doors over a pit. Nice! I'd like to see the fucking architectural genius who designed this part. Oh, bye, Bob. I gotta go to the meeting. Ah! And once again, this maze is virtually worthless. After you get past the door porn in this level, you just head right. No, I'm not kidding. You just keep heading right. Exploration is pointless, unless you like getting totally fucking lost. Game makers, here's a tip. Don't put mazes in your game if all you have to do is head right to the last door. It sort of defeats the whole purpose of a maze. When you finally reach the end of this level, you get another chance to hop through a wall. And this jump is such a fucking pain in the ass. It might look easy, but if you just jump, you'll fall right into the pit and die. So get this. You have to jump, hover spin in the air for a split second, and float over. Again, very natural. Once at the door, you can either fight the boss or go through the next wall and skip to another level. Could somebody tell me why they're even putting in boss battles if you can just keep on skipping past them? Speaking of boss battles, every one is the fucking same. That's right, they're all with the Queen Alien in the same black background area. And the only difference is that the Queen Alien gets a little bit harder each time. Oh my fuck. Couldn't they put in a different boss for each level? Or at the very least changed up the Queen's attacks? And what about the power loader? Couldn't they put that in? No, of course not. This seems just so goddamn lazy and pathetic. At this point, I'm not wondering why the game was unreleased. I'm wondering why it was made at all. Hit detection is another problem with these bosses. To hit the Queen, you have to jump up and shoot her. But there are some shots that register and there are others that don't, even though they go in the same spot. A weapon like the wave laser can help, but sometimes even those shots don't register. And the Queen's great attack pattern is, wait for it, weaving back and forth like a drunk and stabbing you with her tongue. If you only saw this boss battle, you'd probably wonder why the Ripley Queen Alien fight was ever considered so epic. The last 2 levels are the same shit tediously repeated. Run right through a fake maze, kill more aliens, avoid most of the doors, reach the Queen Alien, and kill her. And this is the best that they could do with the movie. Only 2 things really stand out. The chestburster victims in the 4th level and the hidden alien heads in the last one. Other than that, these levels are forgettable bores. One other strange thing about the game are the weapons upgrades. They did get the flamethrower right and they have a shotgun, but a serbo gun? It looks like a pulse rifle, but what's a serbo? When I first saw it, I thought it said pervo rifle. So the gun fires perverts then. And what's a serbo? Is it like short for Serbian? Is this like a Serbian gun from a Serbian film? Oh, fucking forget it. I already spoiled the last 2 boss battles, but as I'm fond of saying, you can't spoil what's already rotten. You kill the Queen Alien and win the day. Hooray! Alright, to be fair, the ending is decent. But it's one of the few things they didn't fuck up in this game. Once you know the game's basic layout, it becomes a joke to beat and has 0 replayability. Hell, you could probably beat the damn thing in 15 minutes or less, so it doesn't hold any real challenge. As for the music, the tune in the first level is good. Here, listen. But the music in the other levels is banal and not worth listening to. As a big fan of the first 2 Alien films, I went into this game wanting to like it, but I ended up feeling as if I wasted my time playing this subpar piece of crap. So in conclusion, I'd only recommend playing this game if you're such a big fan of the Alien films that you'll play anything based off them, no matter how bad it is. For everyone else, I just say avoid it. It's really not worth playing. Everybody and their mother has slammed Superman 64, and for good reason, because the game is an utter piece of shit. But what I want to know is how come Superman for the Game Boy hasn't been raked over the coals that many times? Because it is just as bad, if not worse, than that N64 abomination. And both games are made by the same company, Titus. Yet when I go on YouTube, I find almost no reviews on it. But that's alright, I'm here to give it the shellacking it deserves. So anyway, let's get into it. Superman for the Game Boy. Some bad games at least wait a little while before they start sucking. But oh no, not this one. It starts sucking right from the get-go. This is the startup screen, and they couldn't even bother to put in a Superman title or a press start or anything like that. And this artwork stinks on fucking ice. To me, it looks like something that a mentally deranged 8-year-old would draw in his Etch-a-Sketch. Looking at this crappy artwork, I don't think Neil Adams or Jim Lee have anything to worry about. Christ, it pains me to say, but I think Rob Liefeld could draw a better Superman than this, and his fucking artwork sucks. So anyway, moving on to the game's graphics, well, what do you know, they suck too. What a shocker. The buildings and the cityscape look alright, I guess. But Superman, look what they fucking did to Superman! An American icon, and they pissed all over him! He doesn't even look like Superman. He looks like some kind of half-assed Grammaton cleric. No, you know what he actually looks like to me? It looks like that really shitty black suit that Tim Burton was going to use in his aborted Superman Lives project back in the late 90s. And thank God that never got off the ground. But if it had, I imagine the video game version of Superman would look exactly like this. In other words, it would look like complete dog shit. And these villains don't look much better. What the fuck are they supposed to be? 18th century boat captains, or Sardaukar, or medieval monks? Oh, we're not gonna give you Brainiac or Metalo or big-ass robots to fight. No, we're gonna let you fight Captain Bligh. Ugh. Titus, go to hell, you bunch of frog-eating French fucks. Also, let's not forget that in Stage 2, apparently Metropolis is located on planet Cyclo. Did the game designers ever see a picture of Metropolis in any of the Superman comics? Ever? Apparently not. And let's not forget the wonderful Game Over screen where it looks like Superman is wearing sunglasses that are 2 sizes too small for him. Ooh, and he's so angry he's gonna punch out the words Game Over. If I were him, I wouldn't waste my time on the Game Over screen. Instead, I'd go find the game designers and drop a load of brown kryptonite on them. As for the controls, they're nearly as bad as the graphics. The A button is for flying, but get this. To fly, you have to press the A button and keep holding it. And when you do this, Superman will shoot straight up like a fucking rocket. Once he's in the air, you can move him using any of the directional buttons. But the problem is that if you let go of the A button at any time, he'll drop out of the sky like a fucking anvil. Why do I have to hold the A button to keep him airborne? Why can't I just tap the A button once and have him start flying, then move him in whatever direction I want? Or better yet, do it like Sunman. In that game, all you had to do was press up and your hero would start flying. Oh, but we can't do that. That would be too simple and smart. We gotta make it more complicated than it needs to be. Christ, even Superman for the Atari 2600 did a better job on the flying than this piece of shit. And all the B button does is allow you to punch. Attacking is even worse. Forget the heat vision and the freeze breath, you just get to punch stuff. Wow, that's exciting. And trying to punch while flying is a fucking nightmare. You have to press B while holding A and go in a certain direction, and Superman does some kind of half-ass flying punch dive thingy. Even if you fucking manage to hit something with it, you'll end up taking damage anyway. Great attack, huh? Then there's the epilepsy-inducing pause screen. Press start and you'll end up with a grand mal seizure. I wonder if anybody ever sued them for this. God, I wish they would have. Plus, the music keeps playing after you press pause, and that's always a nice touch. The gameplay. Oh dear, the gameplay. As Superman, your mission is to go through the city and collect 4 keys. Wait a minute, Slick, hold on there. Why does Superman have to collect 1 key, let alone 4? He's fucking Superman! What fucking door is gonna stop him? Well, gee, let's examine the ways that Superman can get around the locked door. He can rip it off its hinges, or he can blast it with his heat vision, or he can blow it away with his freeze breath, or he can smash through the wall, or the floor, or the fucking ceiling. And unless the room is magically protected or made out of kryptonite, he's not gonna have any problem getting in there. So again, why does Superman need a fucking key? I think this is stupider than flying through rings. I really do. In fact, Titus is so stupid that I don't think their stupidity can be measured by conventional means. They just don't get Superman. They don't get him. They can't get him. They're too stupid to get him. Anyway, getting back to the matter at hand, as Superman you go through the city and collect keys. And while you're on this moronic mission, you have to face a bunch of soldiers, whoever they are. They'll shoot bullets at you that Superman can punch back at them. Great, that's just like the Superman in the comics. So you have to defeat these ground pounders as well as about 500 snipers. Maybe the Metropolis Police Department should look into guarding the buildings a bit better. Not to mention that trying to fly and punch these guys at the same time is a pain in the ass. There's also these floating grenades. Don't ask me how they got there. Apparently they have an easier time staying in the air than I do. During the game, Superman is only given 1 life and 6 continues. Why you'd ever want to continue the game is beyond me, but there it is. Recover your energy at the Fortress of Solitude. Maybe while Superman's there, he should recover a dictionary too. You hear a call for help, but it is a trap. Defeat the Shadow Walkers. You have 4 keys to find. Proper grammar courtesy of the Irate Gamer. When at last you manage to collect all the keys, you can leave the level. However, I don't even know why they made you collect those keys since you land on a flashing platform. There's no door or keyhole. Oh fine, what the fuck ever, let's just move on. In the second level, you have to fly over Metropolis and beat up more bad guys. Which is nice and all, except you still have to hold on to A to keep flying. And if you let go of A at any point, Superman will drop out of the sky and you'll lose a life. Then it'll say, you have quit the fight. No, I did not quit the fight. The game quit the fight for me. And what kind of asshole game designer would program a game where Superman can fall out of the sky and just quit? Superman does not quit, and he sure wouldn't quit after falling only a few feet in the sky. What do these game designers care though? They're just programming a shitty game. As if that isn't bad enough, you can also beat the level easily by just flying around the enemies. And actually, it's better to go around them than it is to try to punch them out of the air. Furthermore, they put the 2 keys that you need at the end of the level, so you don't even have to go looking for them. At this rate, why even have a fucking level at all? Why don't they just leave the front door open for you so you can fly on in? Next level, same shit. Except this time they threw in a couple of electrical beams and some switches that you have to hit. Well, la-di-da! This part here is really great too. Apparently Superman can now stop bullets with his mind. So he's become like Neo. Great. Did they work on this game while drinking Drano? Anyway, you knock out the switches and you shut off the big electrical beam and then you go up to the next level. Wow, this is so exciting. Huh? Well, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to care? When the boss finally shows up, he looks like a real challenge. Guess how you beat him? You punch him repeatedly into a corner. Are they for fucking real here? The T-1000 in the Game Boy version of Terminator 2 was more dangerous than this. Once you beat this boss, if you can even call it that, you move on to the next level. Right then I just flat out quit because I could not stand them ruining Superman anymore. This game just... Ugh. However, you might be thinking, come on, there has to be something good about this game, right? Like maybe the music? Maybe they got a nice version of John Williams' rousing Superman theme? Ha ha! This is what passes for theme music in this shitburger. Is that even a theme, or is it just like random noise? And let's not forget the in-stage music, oh no! Somewhere, Hans Zimmer is laughing his ass off and saying, well, at least I didn't do that for Man of Steel. If I could say one good thing about this game, I wouldn't because it doesn't deserve any fucking compliments. Titus, shame on you for fucking up Superman. So in conclusion, if I had a gun to my head and I had to choose between playing Superman 64 and this game, I'd rather just get shot in the head. And even though Titus is now out of business, I hope that anyone associated with this game never gets to touch Superman or RoboCop ever again, because they just flat out do not get the characters. For every good unreleased game like Sunman for the NES, there are other bad ones that were thankfully never released. One such example is Batman for the Super Nintendo, or as it's known by its alternate title, Really Shitty Batman, which in this game's case is a very apt title. So anyway, let's get into it. Batman, or rather Really Shitty Batman, for the Super Nintendo. I suppose one could argue that it's not fair to review a prototype game with only 2 levels. But if this is the direction the game programmers were going in, then they were definitely starting out on the wrong foot. In particular, the game's graphics come off as really bland. The title screen alone looks so dull and uninspiring. At this rate, they may as well have just had a fucking blank screen, because it couldn't look any worse than this shit. Come on! This is Batman, not Bland Man. You know, one of the greatest superheroes ever. Have a title screen that's actually worthy of his name. Batman's character in the actual game, though, isn't too bad. He is big, I'll give him that. But some of his character animations flat out suck. Especially his jumping and his punching. Look at this punch of his. Christ, he looks like fucking Bat-Tard! And the enemies don't look much better. You know, just your standard Final Fight clones. They couldn't even bother to make him look like the fucking Joker's thugs. Heaven forbid they should actually put any effort into this game. Speaking of Final Fight, notice anything else from it? Oh, not much, just the fact that they practically copied and pasted one whole level from that game. But then again, who needs originality when you can just rip shit off? The only other good thing I could say about the graphics, aside from Batman, is that the Joker doesn't look too bad. Except him turning into weird colors and becoming radioactive when you hit him. But that could be chalked up to buggy, incomplete programming, so I won't slam him for that. Control-wise, the game is mediocre at best. B is for punching, A is for kicking, and X is for jumping. It's all very basic. However, one problem is that Batman punches and kicks so slowly that it allows enemies to get in cheap hits. Though in fairness, maybe they could have fixed this problem in later versions of the game. The gameplay, as I mentioned earlier, is your standard Final Fight clone. Nothing is very distinct about it. You go right, beat up bad guys, knock open barrels, you know the drill. When compared to another Batman fighting game, like say Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo, this one comes up really short, even in its incomplete state. Another problem is that Batman moves way too far to the right when you go in that direction, which can occasionally allow the enemies to get some cheap hits off you. They really should have centered Batman more and not allowed the screen to scroll that far. One other annoying aspect about this game is its blandness. Aside from Batman and the Joker and a mention of Gotham City, what else makes this a Batman game? You could plug almost any character from any comic book series into this game and it wouldn't make any fucking difference! That's how generic it is! Worse yet, the game designers tried to be cute and name one of the characters Alfred. You know, because Alfred is Bruce Wayne's butler? Get it? Oh, ha ha! How droll. The game does have one funny glitch, though. Namely, when you run out of health, you can still keep on fighting. Not that it really matters all that much anyway, because this game is so fucking boring that nobody in their right mind would play it for more than a level or two. Once you get partway through level 2, the game loops back to the title screen. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear that the game designers were so embarrassed by the work they had done that they just gave up. And if that's indeed the case, then I am eternally grateful. You may have noticed by now, but this prototype doesn't have any music or sound effects. Considering how bad this game is, though, that might be a blessing in disguise. Having gone through this prototype, one question does remain. Could this game have been salvaged in any way? I'd like to say yes, but my gut tells me no. That they got this far and did this badly just goes to show how misguided their efforts were right from the start. Thankfully, though, this piece of shit was dropped and we were spared yet another terrible game based off the Batman license. So in conclusion, this game is just not worth playing. Unless perhaps you're fascinated by all things Batman or you just like to check out prototypes of unreleased games. In that case, have at it. With the upcoming release of Man of Steel, I figured now would be the perfect time to review some Superman games. However, before I begin, I have to say that this isn't going to be like an official Superman review month or anything like that. I might even only cover a game or two, or maybe more, we'll see. Anyway, to start off this whole Superman review cycle, I have one hell of a piece of shit for you guys. The first level of Superman, the Man of Steel for the Amiga could have been so wonderful, but they made this part so difficult and so long that after about an hour of gameplay, I just wanted to quit the game altogether. It's that fucking frustrating of a level. So anyway, let's get into it. Levels from Hell, Superman for the Amiga, Level 1. If levels were judged only by their graphics, then this one would be a winner right from the start. Superman and his enemies are well drawn, and they look a lot like their comic book counterparts. Also, the background forest has some sharp details, even if the graphics do become repetitive after a while. And the comic book-like cutscene before the level starts is another nice visual touch. As for the controls, they're really simple. You control Superman's flight path with a mouse, attack with the left mouse button, and select his powers with the right mouse button. My only complaint with the controls is that Superman's movements become sluggish when you try to turn him in flight. And this becomes a big problem when you're trying to avoid enemy fire. However, it's not so bad that it makes the level unbearable. No, what makes the level unbearable is the fucking gameplay! I haven't seen a game jump the shark this quickly since I played Cobra for the C64. In fact, this level is so fucking unforgiving that right from the start, it doesn't even give you time to get used to anything. For example, before you can get used to the controls, bam, a bunch of enemies fly in and attack ya. Jesus fucking Christ, give me a goddamn second to get used to the controls! This game doesn't have a learning curve, it has a fucking learning cliff that you slam right into. If you don't get used to the controls pronto, you are dead. Period. Just watch this. Not even 30 seconds into the level and I die. That's how sadistic this game is. Would it have hurt them to give you only 1 or 2 enemies at the start instead of 4? And maybe not introduce enemies right off the bat who can take away all your health in seconds? Of course they couldn't give you a fighting chance. That would actually make the game fun. Another problem is that when Superman is hit, he becomes paralyzed for a few seconds, so more shots can hit him and take him out quicksville. And then there are these circles that can suck your life away faster than a Bangkok whore. Please, whatever you do, game, don't give me a fighting chance. Worse yet, these circles can suck your life from far away and you won't even see it. For Christ's sakes, at least let me see the goddamn attack! One of the biggest problems in this level, though, is the use of Superman's powers. As I explained earlier, you can select his powers with the right mouse button. Superman has flight, which is automatic, as well as attacks that include heat vision, freeze breath, and a super punch. But here's the catch. Each attack has its own separate power bar, and you can only use it so many times before it runs out. Okay, he can only use his powers so often, otherwise the level would be too easy. And if you stop using a certain power, it does slowly regenerate. So you can switch from one power to another until the other one recharges. Fine, that's fair. But get this! Even if you drain a certain bar completely, you can still use that power. However, now it drains his life bar in the upper right-hand corner. That's right! Use a particular attack too much and it wipes out Superman. What the fucking hell is this shit? How could Superman stop fighting from using his powers too much? What, is he like a Kryptonian battery or something? What nitwit designed this fucking bullshit concept anyway? This doesn't look like a job for Superman. It looks like a job for a fucking competent game designer. All they had to do was simply not make the power available to you until it recharges. Or maybe have you pick up power icons that give you extra abilities until you get hit. Then you lose them again.
But of course they couldn't do that. That would be too logical.
Oh, and I love this game over screen. Talk about a kick in the nuts. Not only does it say that I failed, it says someone else has to come along and save the day. Yeah, well, if their superpowers deplete their life bars to nothing, then I wish them the best of luck. To succeed in this level, you have to keep switching between attacks. The punch is strong, and the Man of Steel actually gets to hit something, unlike in Superman Returns. But unfortunately, the punch can only be used at close range, and it makes you extremely vulnerable to enemy attacks. It is good against these cannon gliders, but you have to be close and time it just right, otherwise you'll waste energy for nothing. Freeze breath blows your enemies out of range and gives you room to maneuver. Unfortunately, when he does the attack, he freezes up for a few seconds and leaves you vulnerable to enemy fire. Great, so Superman can't move and blow at the same time. Wonder Woman's gonna be real disappointed by that. When it comes to heat vision, it's harder to hit enemies up close than it is from far away. To get a better shot, you have to blow enemies away with your freeze breath and then hit them with your heat vision. So by this level's logic, I can hit a target more easily from 100 yards away than from 10 feet. Furthermore, the hit detection feels off. Look at this! I nailed a fucking parademon, but it doesn't register. How fucking senseless is that? Oh, and even if you blow up one of the demon's cannons, sometimes they'll escape and continue attacking you. Lovely. If you actually bother to play this level, you're going to be spending a lot of your time fleeing the enemy so you can restore your life bar. Yeah, because I always wanted to play a Superman game where he flees danger instead of faces it head on. Christ almighty, I think I'd rather fly through fucking rings than deal with this shit. As if that isn't bad enough, though, the enemies just keep on swarming you, and swarming you, and swarming you. Take out some of them and a portal appears and drops even more of them on you. Typically, the best strategy is to blow them away with the freeze breath and then shoot them with the heat vision.
Oh, but don't do it too often or else Superman's gonna run out of energy and fly away!
Even if you somehow manage to adjust to the awful gameplay, the sheer repetition of it is mind-numbing. Destroy some demons and cannons, lose some life, flee, repeat, fuck up, die, repeat all over again. I read the instructions and I'm still not sure exactly how you win. Do you have to fight till the bonus timer runs out or you destroy a certain number of cannons? Another guy on YouTube had a video of this level and he had defeated over 100 demons and the level still wasn't over. Gee, I wonder why there's no other videos of this game on YouTube. At least the C64 version of this game gives you a specific number of demons to defeat, but this one's like, fuck it, just defeat as many as you want. Oh, thanks a lot. When I finally managed to beat this level, after 30 fucking hours, I had zero interest in playing the rest of this game. In most games, when you successfully beat a level, you feel like a winner because you accomplished something. But in this case, I felt like a loser because I wasted so much time trying to beat the level and I got nothing in return for my efforts. Except maybe carpal tunnel syndrome and a newfound hatred for Superman. By the way, let's not forget the level's sound effects. They're shitty too. The parademon shots sound like the gunfire from Beverly Hills Cop for the Amiga. Which isn't surprising since that game and this one are from the same company, Tynesoft. Oh, and I love the sound the parademons make when they die. Oh! Sounds less like they're dying and more like they're chronically constipated. The level has no music, though there is some in the comic book cutscene. Here, listen. It's not a bad rendition of some music from the Superman movie. It's decent. But if the actual level had any music, I think it would sound something like this. The worst thing of all is that this part of the game could have been really fantastic if they took the time to make the gameplay as appealing as the graphics. Unfortunately, they didn't, and all that's left is a level that sucks brown kryptonite. So in conclusion, to paraphrase the George Reeves show, Level 1 of Superman for the Amiga is harder than a dingleberry from the Man of Steel's ass, more stupid than George W. Bush, and able to make you leap out the nearest window in 5 seconds flat. Hook for the NES is a terrible game, there's no question about that. But the final boss battle takes an already wretched piece of shit and sends it screaming down into the deepest depths of hell. And who were the ones responsible for this abomination of a boss battle? Who else but our old friends at Ocean? Terrific. Excuse me while I go slit my wrists. So anyway, let's get into it. Stupid boss battles. Hook for the NES. The final fight. You start the final battle on the world map, which looks like total shit, and Peter Pan keeps on waving at you like he wants you to come on down and join the fun. Yeah, well you can stop waving at me, you fucking jag-off, cause I ain't having any fun. Then you go to the next screen and Tinkerbell appears and tells you it's the final battle. Like I'm so fucking stupid I couldn't figure that out for myself. Oh, and she keeps on flying around, blocking the text. And not just here either, oh no. She does it in almost every other fucking cutscene. Shut the fuck up and stop flying around, you pixie dust-coated bitch! So at long last, you finally get to the battle with Captain Hook. The graphics here look only slightly better than the other levels in the game. And by slightly, I mean they still look like shit. Peter Pan looks like Errol Flynn. If Errol Flynn were a pasty-ass mime-looking motherfucker instead of an awesome action movie hero. And then we got Baron Munchausen crossbred with the Joker. Would it have killed them to give the characters flesh skin tones like they did with Tinkerbell in the cutscenes? Not to mention that their swords are only 2 inches long. I'm not going to read anything Freudian into that. As for the background, it's there. I can take it or leave it. The controls? Oh Christ, here we go. Ocean fucked this one up real good. This boss battle has some of the worst controls I've ever seen. You will not believe this. When Peter Pan jumps, he ends up turning in the opposite direction. So if you're facing Captain Hook and you jump away from him, when you land, you'll be looking the wrong way. Oh, and you can't just turn around by pressing in the opposite direction. Oh no, you have to jump again to turn around. What the fuck? This control scheme is cataclysmically stupid! Not only that, Pan and Hook's jumping animations make them look like total fucking retards. Die! I'm a jumping fool! This is embarrassing, even for Ocean. If you could see me now, I'm doing a big facepalm. Yes, it's that bad. As if that isn't bad enough, the swordplay is also awkward. Like in the earlier levels of the game, you can't just stab your enemy by pressing the attack button. Oh no, that would be too easy. Instead, you have to wait for the exact right moment for Hook to walk into you or else the hit won't register. Or you can also try walking into the captain and stabbing at him repeatedly, but again, if your timing isn't perfect, he'll get you. So instead of skill, grace, and elegance, it comes down to pointless button mashing. I haven't seen a sword fight this bad since I played Highlander for the Amstrad CPC. And at least in that dog turd of a game, I had the occasional pleasure of decapitating my opponents. Next comes the gameplay. If I could sum it up in one word, that word would be FUCK! Or to the tune of Beethoven's Fifth, fuck, 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 fuck! Fuck, 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 fuck! Your task is to knock Hook's life bar down to nothing. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, sure it is. One of the biggest problems in this boss battle is these goddamn pirates who appear and put balls and chains on your leg. And once they're on, you can't rush back or jump. So you have to move back and forth and hit the jump button repeatedly to free yourself. But if you manage to jump free, you end up facing in the wrong direction. So you have to jump yet again to get back in the right direction, and during that time, you're vulnerable. Why oh why couldn't they have made it like any other fighting game where you can control the direction you jump in? And why do they have to add the pirates here too? Can't I just have a regular sword fight with Captain Hook? I already dealt with pirates in the 500 other fucking levels in this game. Another big problem is the hit detection. As I mentioned earlier, if you walk up to Captain Hook and try to stab him, he'll typically hit you instead. Even though sometimes I swear I got him first. Like this part here. It's bullshit! So to win, you have to stand there like Peter Putz and jam the B button repeatedly to stab him. In fact, that's the best way to beat Captain Hook. Just stand between the pirates and keep stabbing at him. Because that's always the mark of a good boss battle, right? Yep, a good boss battle is when your opponent hops around like a fucking crystal meth freak and walks right into your goddamn blade. Forget strategy and timing, just mash buttons and hop around the screen like an idiot and you'll win the day. But if you don't win, you're treated as annoying slag coming back and giving you a message saying that you didn't win. Well, I have a message of my own for her. Go fuck yourself, tinker twat! However, that's not the most annoying thing about losing. No, this is Peter Pan's death noise. I swear to Christ in heaven, it is the most annoying sound you will ever hear in any video game. And not only will you hear it when Peter Pan dies in this boss battle, you will hear it throughout the whole fucking game! Every time Peter Pan is hit... Ah! Fuck, that's annoying! Viewers constantly ask me, they say, why do you attack Ocean so much, Filmnstuff? This is why! This is why! Some asshole there signed off on that sound effect and said, yep, that's good enough, we'll put it in the game 1,000 fucking times. Ah! It's like in Dumb and Dumber where Lloyd asks Gasman if he wants to hear the most annoying sound in the world. Well, here it is, right here. Christ, give me Bayou Billy's "Ugh" any day of the week over that. Moving on, there's the matter of losing all your lives. And well, if that happens, you can't continue the game, so you're fucked. To further add to the insult, the game over screen makes you walk the plank. Here's a thought, why doesn't Pan just fly back up to the ship and fight Hook again? Oh right, because the game designers are morons, that's why. Losing might suck, but winning ain't too great either. If you win, you get a message saying that you rescued your children and that Neverland is safe once again. Why do I get the feeling that Michael Jackson programmed this message? After that, some of the game designers' names appear. Why they bothered to put them there, I have no fucking clue. Maybe an act of penance? Finally, there's one more message saying that life is a big adventure. With boss battles like these, it's more of a sick cosmic joke than an adventure. Then it's right back to the main title screen, in case you want to suffer through the game a second time. No thanks, I'll pass. Once again, Ocean takes a potentially good boss battle and ruins it with poor controls, bad hit detection, and monotonous gameplay. But by now, is anyone really surprised by that? Because I'm not. So in conclusion, I long for the day when I can play a boss battle in an Ocean game that doesn't make me grind my teeth. And no, the boss battles in Total Recall for the Amiga don't count because they were way too fucking short. Who knows, maybe someday I'll find a good one. Yeah, and maybe someday my ass will grow wings and I'll fart out fairy dust. But I don't expect any of those things to happen anytime soon. Everybody and his mother has complained about the NES version of Karate Kid, though in all honesty, I don't think it's half as bad as people make it out to be. And my view on that game was definitely reinforced after playing this fucking crap fest. This is supposed to be a fighting game. I say supposed to because what you do in it can barely even be called fighting. In fact, this is one of the worst so-called fighting games I've ever played. So anyway, let's get into it. The Karate Kid Part 2 for the Amiga. I'm somewhat torn on this game's graphics. On one hand, the levels do look like certain scenes from the Karate Kid movie. But on the other hand, there's a certain flatness to them that really turns me off. Furthermore, the backgrounds are so static that they feel more like still paintings rather than actual places. They couldn't have put a little more life into the level designs? Maybe have some trees blowing in the wind or some water rushing by? Nope, they just couldn't go that extra mile. Another graphical problem comes with the character design. Every character in the fighting levels looks almost exactly alike. Seriously, look at this shit. Aside from the palette swap clothes, they're identical. Christ almighty, even the much reviled NES version made Daniel and his enemies look slightly different from each other. But here they were too lazy to do even that. Would it have killed them to make the characters look a little bit different from each other? Yep, I think it would have. Some of the other images look awful too. Like this one. Mr. Miyagi looks like he smoked a couple of bowls before he started catching flies. Here's something else that's silly. When a character is defeated, he stands up and then falls right back down again. Why waste the animation doing this? Why not just have him fall down and stay down? It's so asinine. The only good graphics in this game are the opening titles and the ice chop scene. Everything else sucks. While I'm on the subject of sucking, let's talk about the controls. They are some of the most crippled I've ever seen in any fighting game. You move Daniel left and right with the control pad and jump with the up key. As for punching and kicking, you only get one button, the control button. Okay, that's par for the course with Amiga games. But get this! To perform punches, you have to press up or down in a forward direction at the same time. And to perform kicks, you have to press the control button in a certain direction at the exact same time. And if you don't do it exactly right, Daniel won't do anything. They have all these fucking keys on the keyboard and they can only use the control button? Somebody didn't get the memo. What's even worse is the character orientation. If you press left, instead of walking left, he'll walk backwards. Alright, that's not too bad. But if you do a certain move like a spin kick and it doesn't connect, then Daniel will be facing the wrong way. Then you have to do a spin kick or turn in the opposite direction to be facing the correct way. Why can't he just do a full spin and be facing in the proper direction again? I swear, this game is giving me flashbacks to the final boss battle in Hook for the NES. And if you jump or jump kick past your opponent, you have to turn around or else you'll be vulnerable. It's like the game designers are deliberately fucking with you just for the fun of it. Shitty fighting games like Survival Arts have better controls than this. Wow, that's quite a dubious accomplishment. The gameplay is like the fighting game equivalent of Groundhog Day. You go through similar, flat-looking levels and fight the same opponents over and over and over again. Now this wouldn't be quite so bad if the fights were exciting and fast-paced like in Street Fighter II or Mortal Kombat. But the fighting in this game is so slow and clumsy that it quickly becomes an exercise in tedium. And the worst part is they could have done so much to make the game better. They could have varied the opponents and their fighting styles. They could have given Daniel's son new fighting moves to learn. They could have put a clock in there or multiple rounds. Instead, they did jack shit. People constantly complain about the NES version, but at least in that game you were actually doing something. In this one, you don't do much of anything. Except maybe stand there and mash buttons. One of the few virtues this game has is that it's very short. It's around about 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay. But if you lose once, it's all the way back to the beginning. And with this game's lousy controls, trust me, you'll be losing a lot. Occasionally, to break up the monotony, there are 2 bonus rounds. One of them is pot-baked Mr. Miyagi trying to catch a fly with chopsticks. And the controls here are so damn stiff that it makes it nearly impossible to catch a fly. Also, Mr. Miyagi has a limited range of motion, which makes it even harder. At least the NES version of this bonus game had better controls. Better still, it was mostly optional. You only had to do it once in a while to collect drum punches and crane kicks. But here, it's required. And what's your reward for dealing with all this aggravation? Some lousy points added to your score.
Whoa-wee!
The other bonus round is the ice chop, and it is such a pain in the ass. A hand drum appears in the upper right-hand corner, and you have to keep on pressing left and right on the control pad to build up, I don't know, rhythm or concentration or something? Anyway, once you get the proper rhythm going, you have to press right on the control pad and the control button. Time it right and you'll break the ice blocks. Time it wrong and you won't break shit. But these controls are so imprecise that I swear that half the time you'll do it right and the ice blocks still won't break. And once again, if you succeed, your only reward is points. No extra continues, no special moves, just points. Gee, thanks. If these are supposed to be bonus rounds, then where's the fucking bonus? The worst thing about these bonus rounds, though, is that they repeat constantly. You have to do each one about 3 or 4 times, and you can't skip past them. It really feels like they just dumped them in there to pad the game out a little more. Take them out of there, and you got maybe, 6 or 7 minutes worth of fighting, tops? One other point about fighting. The game's opponents do get a bit harder as you go along. But the AI is so fucking stupid that all the opponents tend to follow the same pattern. And all you have to do to beat him is just get in close and do spin kicks and jump kicks. The hit detection in this game, though, is shit tea. There are some shots like this one that I know should have hit my opponent, yet they didn't. Instead of the Karate Kid, maybe they should have called this game the Karate Klutz. Or maybe they should have fine-tuned the hit detection. Just a thought. To add injury to insult, when you lose, the game says, "You lost everything but your score." You know what? You can fucking keep that too. When you finally manage to get to the last battle, you have to face Chosen, who just so happens to look and fight like all the other enemies. What is the point in having a final boss if he's like every other fucking enemy in this game? He's so fucking generic, you may as well knock the Chosen name off him and call him Ralph or Mr. X or something. Oh, but there's a twist at the end of this battle. When Chosen is nearly defeated, the hand drum reappears and you have to knock him down with one more blow. Okay, points for that because it is somewhat like the movie. But this is nearly fucking impossible to do. I know because I tried it a bunch of times and I only managed it once or twice. Here's the real kicker though. If you fail, then you still win anyway. Either way, you get one lousy victory screen and that's it. I win, but I lose. It's like a goddamn paradox. But if this whole drum thing doesn't matter, then why fucking put it in there? Who knows what the fuck they were thinking when they made this piece of shit? I have to make a special mention of the sound effects. The sounds that they use in this game are such goofy, chop-socky nonsense that at first they're actually pretty funny. But since the game has almost no music aside from the beginning and the end, these are the only sounds that you're gonna hear. And they become really irritating really quickly. Here, listen. Ice! Oh, Lord. Oh, dear Lord. A Hong Kong Phooey cartoon has more dignity than this. As for the music, it's an okay rendition of the Karate Kid theme. Here, listen. It's decent, but not particularly memorable. This game is so badly made and generic that I bet if you removed all traces of the Karate Kid license from it, you wouldn't even know it was based on the movie. If you're gonna buy the license to a decent movie, go that extra mile and make a worthwhile game that respects the source material. And don't fucking half-ass it like this game did because it's a waste of everybody's time. So in conclusion, people who give the NES version of Karate Kid shit should really play this game. Because after doing so, I almost guarantee that they won't complain nearly half as much about that other game. Sometimes you gotta wonder why video game companies buy certain movie licenses. Case in point, Baby's Day Out. I have no idea what the fuck they were thinking when they bought this goddamn license. If I had to guess, I'd say they were thinking, well, John Hughes wrote this film, and John Hughes wrote Home Alone, and Home Alone was a big hit, so ergo this film and this game have to be huge hits, right? Well, not only was Baby's Day Out a huge flop here in America, the game never got released. So if my theory has any validity, then they were setting themselves up for failure right from the start. And after playing this game, I think I can understand why they never released it, regardless of whether or not the film was a flop. So anyway, let's get into it. Baby's Day Out for the Genesis. Right off the bat, I have to say that the graphics don't look too bad. There's some nice depth in the background with the stairs and the picture and the other objects. As for the foreground, well, I'm not quite so impressed. There's boxes, and more boxes. Oh yeah, and some other shit too. Maybe, just maybe, they could have put in a few more foreground items aside from boxes. Well, there is a door and some kind of skull type thing, so I guess that's their idea of diversity. Also, I find the colors to be a little bit drab. But then again, the Genesis had a much smaller color palette than the Super Nintendo, so I guess they did well enough with what they had. And at least the foreground objects for the most part stand out from the background ones, so I'll give them credit for that. As for the controls, I'd say they're adequate at best. You control this angel. Alright game, you want to call it an angel? Fine, it's an angel, whatever. Looks like some kind of stupid-ass Pokemon to me. Anyway, you control this angel by flying him around the room. And one of the big problems with the controls is that they just feel too loose. For example, if you're flying in a certain direction and you let go of the control pad, the angel will keep on flying for a few seconds. I think it would have worked much better if they had tightened up the controls more, so when you let go of the control pad, the angel just stops. The A button is used to click on question marks for information and to take control of certain items such as shoes and boxes. And you might be wondering, why the fuck do I have to take control of shoes and boxes? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. The B button allows you to pop the angel's eyes out and sweep through areas that you can't otherwise reach. I guess it's like the heavenly version of reconnaissance. But get this, you only get 30 seconds to pop the angel's eyes out and sweep through an area, then they go right back to the angel. And then you can't do it anymore for that level. Why 30 seconds? Why such an arbitrary number? Isn't he a divine being? Doesn't he have heavenly powers? But I don't know, he can only do it for 30 seconds. I guess the game designers just wanted to bust your chops. As for the C button, it allows you to jump while wearing shoes. And no, I'm not making this shit up. I'll cover this some more when I get to the second level. The gameplay is where Baby's Day Out really falls flat on its face. As I mentioned earlier, you play as this angel watching over Baby Bink. Oh no, they couldn't let you play as the baby, heaven forbid. No, you have to play as an angel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall any angels in that film. Alright, fine, whatever, I'm a fucking angel. Let's just get on with it. You have to help Baby Bink get through a series of obstacles and traps and stop the kidnappers who want to grab him. And how do you accomplish this task, you might ask? Well, here in this first level, you open a door for the baby. But first, you gotta get a key for the door. Which I admit isn't too hard. You just float over the key, then go back to the door and it automatically opens up. Then once the baby reaches this flag, you press A and the level ends. Exciting stuff, huh guys? Alright, to be fair, it is a training level. But this has got to be one of the most boring training levels I've ever played in a video game. And the only real danger in this first level is running out of time. Christ, could you imagine GoldenEye for the N64 if James Bond's only task in the first level was to open a fucking door? Yeah, that would have made it a classic. Hopefully the second level will be a bit more exciting. Is it? Yeah, sure it is. The second level is the same crap as the first one, only a little bit harder. Oh, and they didn't even bother to change the background or anything. That's right, guys, make your game look like a cheap piece of shit. So anyway, in this level, you have to move a box out of the way for the baby, as well as take control of a pair of shoes and use them to climb ladders. Let me repeat that second part. An angel has to take control of a pair of shoes and use them to climb ladders. That is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard of in my life. Can he just teleport to another area or float up through the fucking floors? Oh no, he's gotta use a pair of shoes to climb up a ladder. What's next? Does the devil need a walker to cross a street? This is just so fucking stupid. The angel should be able to float through anything, yet a couple of boxes or some ladder stops him cold. Fuck you, game! What might be even worse, though, is that you have to move a block with an up arrow in front of the ladder so that the baby will climb it. You see a lot of babies climbing up ladders in real life? Why don't you try that with your baby or someone else's baby sometime and see how well that works out? They could have made this so much better if they just had the angel grab the baby and carry him to safety. Or better yet, get rid of the angel and the puzzle-solving crap and just have a side-scrolling action game with the baby. Of course not, they couldn't do that. No, they had to have this boring puzzle crap that makes Where's Waldo look like a thrill a minute. One other annoying bit is that when you're in the shoes and you get the key, you can't open the door until you get out of the shoes. What? I can't just open the damn door while I'm in the shoes? No, they had to make it just a little bit more annoying. So once you open the door, you go down to another area, get the key for another door, move the down block in front of the ladder so the baby can climb down it, then open another door and get to the flag so you can get to the next level. Truthfully, it's not too hard to solve this level's puzzle, but it is so fucking boring! By the third level, I'd had enough. And they don't even bring the kidnappers in till the fourth level. And what do they give you in lieu of the kidnappers? Why, more boring puzzles, of course! Puzzles, I might add, that a 4-year-old could solve with no problem. The music in the first 4 levels is ear-screechingly awful. Ugh, if they played recorded polka music, it would sound better. At the end of level 4, I gave up. The game is just too dull to continue. And unless you want to be bored out of your skull for hours, I'd suggest steering clear of this fucking yawn fest. So in conclusion, after playing the first 4 levels, it's not hard for me to see why this game wasn't released. But then again, if the game makers had any good sense, they wouldn't have bought the fucking license in the first place. The world may not be enough, but this game sure is. In fact, I dare say it's too fucking much. And the last level is so fucking terrible that I don't think there are enough adjectives in the English language to describe how bad it is. So anyway, let's get into it. Levels from Hell. The world is not enough for the Game Boy Color. The Reactor Room. Like the movie, the game's climax takes place in a submarine reactor room. Okay, so far so good. But almost immediately, this level takes a fucking nosedive. Now, I'm not expecting perfect graphics from a Game Boy Color game, but this is just embarrassing. James Bond does look okay, but the rest of this level looks like total shit. Literally, like the walls are painted with shit. Not to mention that there are naked electrical coils and floating platforms. Is this a submarine or Dr. Frankenstein's lab? I get the feeling that the game designers either didn't see the movie, or if they did, they didn't pay any attention. And what is it with submarines and bad levels? There was one in Hunt for Red October for the NES, and now another one here! Can't anybody make a good video game submarine level? I guess not. Okay, so anyway, your goal is to get to the top of this room and stop Renard from blowing up the reactor. And that's all well and good, but the problems with this level start almost immediately. First off, the fucking controls suck ass! The jumping in particular is literally atrocious! I'm not kidding. It is literally some of the worst jumping I've ever seen in any game. If you don't believe me, just look at this. This should be an easy jump, right? You just jump up and get onto the platform, right? 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 He can't even jump straight up onto a fucking platform! No, he has to jump from the side onto it like he's playing leapfrog. Unbelievable! And the collision detection is so piss poor that you will literally float through objects and platforms. Like this jump here. It should be another easy one, right? But you have to back up all the way next to the wall and then jump, or otherwise you'll float right through the next platform. To let shit like this slide in a $50 plus licensed game is unconscionable. Oh, and let's not forget these awful electrified platforms. You have to time jumping on them just right, or you get zapped. Lovely. I imagine that James Bond feels like he's getting an electric baton up his ass. Then there's this platform. You have to time your fall just right, or you'll miss it. And the game is so glitchy that I swear you have to fall through the platform to get on it. Or you can just skip all that shit by jumping through a fucking wall. I guess one criterion for joining MI6 is the ability to pass through solid matter. But the fun's not over yet, though. Oh, no. Once you get beyond this point, Renard starts dropping bombs that zap you. Great. Why doesn't he just fucking shit on me while he's at it? Oh, that's right. The game's already shitting on me, so I guess that would be redundant. Then there's these two fucking platforms. Look at them. They're about the size of fucking cricket turds. How am I supposed to get across them? Simple. You're not. Or at least not without a lot of fucking failed tries. Your timing and spacing has to be inhumanly perfect. And you have to jump on this platform at the right time or else you'll get fucking shocked. By the way, did I forget to mention that there's a time limit for this level? Don't get up there fast enough and you lose. Which means that you can't take your sweet fucking time getting these jumps right. Oh no. You gotta move it. At this rate, I'm really in the mood for a vodka martini. Shaken, not stirred. Preferably several of them. The best part, though, is yet to come. When you finally manage to get up through this shit-slathered hell, there's no fucking boss battle! Renard just walks up to you and you either strangle him or give him some kind of Vulcan nerve pinch. And why does Renard look like the fucking Joker with a fleshy square head? I don't know, maybe the game designers got Batman and James Bond confused. Forgetting his odd appearance for a moment, where the fuck is the big knockdown drag-out fight from the end of the movie? And didn't Renard get a plutonium rod through his chest? You know, originally I was going to call this a stupid boss battle. But how the fuck can I? There is no battle! This is even worse than the final battle with the T-1000 and Terminator 2 for the Game Boy. At least in that one, he actually fucking did something. Here, though, it's like the game programmers couldn't even be arsed to do anything, as the English would say. Perhaps the most insulting thing about this level, though, is the final screen. For all your efforts, all you get is one screen with the word victory. Then the game just loops back to the beginning. This game can go fuck its mother! And if it doesn't have a mother, then it should go find one so it can go fuck her! Looking at this last level as a whole, it is just stunningly bad. If somebody told me that this came from a pirate game, I'd believe them. That's how bad it is. So in conclusion, even if you're a James Bond fan, don't play this level, or this game for that matter. Back to the Future for the MSX is certainly no masterpiece, but when you compare it to the NES version, it does come out looking somewhat better. And at least it doesn't have that other version's ear-raping music, or Marty throwing bowling balls for that matter. So anyway, let's get into it. Back to the Future for the MSX. Admittedly, the graphics aren't all that great. But then again, the game did come out back in 1986, so what do you expect? Marty McFly doesn't look a lot like his movie counterpart. However, considering the age of the game, it's not that bad. On the other hand, George and Lorraine McFly look horrible. George is green and Lorraine is purple? And there's these enemies. I don't know if they're cops or bullies, but they're totally blue? Did they fucking run out of colors, or were all the game programmers 4 years old? Oh yeah, and Biff is dark green and shoots a gun at you. They must have spliced his DNA with the Hulk and gave him his gun from the second movie. I think it would have been better if they made the other characters flesh-colored like Marty. But oh well. As for the Hill Valley background, it looks rather generic. Then again, I'm not sure what you could really do with it given the system limitations. Still, they could have made it look a little more like the 1950s. Hell, maybe add a few old-fashioned cars in the background or some people dressed in 1950s clothes. But nope, everybody looks like they came from fucking Candyland. I do think that the NES game's graphics are a little better than this. Yet despite that, I do think this game has better controls. Instead of being forced to move ahead, you can move back and forth of your own free will. The keypad allows you to move left and right, and the spacebar allows you to jump. Also, if you collect a shoe icon, you can do a high jump by pressing up and spacebar. The jumping, though, is a bit awkward. For example, when Marty reaches the high point of his jump, he can only go straight down, which means that you can't always move out of the way of enemies in time. I think it would have been better if you had been able to control Marty throughout the whole jump. Nevertheless, the jumping is better than the NES version. At least in this game, you don't fucking float around when you jump. Along with the controls, the gameplay is rather simple. You play as Marty McFly, obviously, and you have to reunite your mom and dad and get them to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance before time runs out. To make Marty's parents appear, you have to jump in front of certain windows. And once you reveal one parent, they'll follow you while you find the other. After you get both parents, you lead them to the dance and win the level. But it's not quite as easy as it seems, because enemies are constantly running at Marty. Now there are 3 types of these guys. The blue ones are the generic runners, the green ones jump, and the red ones carry items. And you can hop on all of them to take them out. However, the hit detection in this game is a bit odd. And the reason for this is because it feels like you have to hop on them a second before you actually do. Worse yet, sometimes the hit detection is very wonky. Like you jump on a guy and nail him, but the game says you got hit and you lose a life. It's fucking ridiculous! And in later levels, the game throws so many fucking enemies at you at once that it's very difficult to hit or avoid them. Speaking of difficulty, this is one of the game's biggest problems. It gets way too hard way too quickly. By the 4th level, everything in its fucking mother is coming to kill you. Biff with a gun, the cops or bullies or whatever the hell they are, and fucking lightning from clouds. What's next? The Libyans? Now you can get more lives after getting a certain number of points. Even so, the game becomes so difficult so quickly that you're probably going to lose them pretty fast. In my opinion, they should have made the difficulty level rise a bit more gradually. Another problem with the game are these shoes. From level 3 onward, you have to do high jumps to get to these upper windows because your parents are sometimes located there. So if you don't have the shoes, you can't make the jumps. And if you lose a life, you lose a pair of shoes. Run out of shoes and you gotta stand there like an asshole and kill a bunch of blue and green guys until a red one appears. Which means that you have to stock up on shoes in the earlier levels so you don't get stuck doing this shit. They really should have ditched this whole shoe angle because it's such a tedious fucking waste of time. Just let me kill a red guy and get the shoes and keep them for the whole fucking level.
But now we can't do that.
There are 2 things I will give the game though. 1, it gives you more time than the NES version. Not to mention that you only have to collect clocks once in a while instead of every half a second. 2, the skateboard is much better. For one thing, you can actually stop. And it makes you temporarily invincible before it disappears. So at least that much can be said in the game's favor. Unfortunately, what really sinks this game is the repetitive gameplay. You do the same damn thing in nearly every level. Just kill enemies and get George and Lorraine to the dance. That's it. The background barely changes, the difficulty just gets higher. Now you can say this about a lot of early games, like say Super Mario Bros. But at least in that game, they gave you different challenges throughout the other levels. New enemies, new obstacles, bosses. Here though, the game barely does that. I did see a YouTube video of the whole game, and there is a difference in the last level. Along with getting Marty's parents to the dance, you also have to get Doc Brown to the clock tower. But that's it! Too bad they couldn't have put more different missions throughout the game, since it might have made it a little less repetitive. In total, the game has 9 rounds. But the game became so monotonous and difficult that after round 4 I just quit. Music-wise, the game has a decent rendition of Johnny B. Good. Here, listen. It's not great, but I'll take it any day over the NES music. On its own, this game isn't that good. When compared to the NES version, though, it is slightly better. So in conclusion, I'd only recommend this game as a curio. If you like the Back to the Future movie, play it. If not, skip it. This game is one of the worst pieces of shit I ever played in my life. It's almost identical to the NES version, yet it somehow manages to be awful in its own ways. So anyway, let's get into it. Predator for the MSX2. Graphics-wise, this game looks a lot like its NES counterpart. Same bland-looking jungles, same stupid-looking creatures. The only real difference in the graphics is Dutch himself. He's not dressed in pink! Holy shit! He actually looks more like an army guy! Too bad it's only one of the improvements over the other game. The graphics, however, will seem like a blessing when compared to the controls. You use the left Alt button and the left and right directional buttons to select weapons. And while I'm on the subject of weapons, there are some key differences between this game and the NES version. Unlike the other game, you start out with Dutch's assault rifle, grenades, and mines. Whereas in the other game, you can only have one weapon at a time. The second point is that unlike the NES game, all your weapons have limited ammo, so you have to get more by killing enemies. Back to the controls, the worst part is the control pad's sensitivity. Move a tiny bit in any direction and Dutch slides that way. Plus if you press down and forward, Dutch will do some kind of odd knee slide across the screen. And good luck doing any precision jumping. The platforms are as small as gnat turds. And the controls are so loose that it's nearly a given that you're going to slide off one of them. There's yet another issue about jumping. If you jump to a higher screen, the game will cut to black. Then when the next screen appears, you could be facing anything. An enemy can ambush you, or you can miss a platform and fall back down and have the screen cut to black again. This makes jumping a fucking nightmare because you can never see what you're heading into. Could they make this game any less playable if they tried? I'm about to answer my own rhetorical question. Yes, they fucking can! The gameplay is atrocious! Level 1 is so bad that it's a level from hell. You start out with a map screen that wasn't in the NES game, and you can go back and forth between different levels. Your mission in the first level is to head right and face the Predator, which sounds a lot easier than it actually is. As soon as you start out, scorpions appear out of nowhere and attack you. What? That's not all. A scorpion can actually kill you in the first part of the level! What fucking drugs were they smoking? So let me get this straight. A scorpion is more powerful than the Predator! And people bitch about midgets in the Total Recall NES game? Worse still is the water in this level. Fall in it at any point, and you get sucked all the way back to the beginning of the level! And there is nothing you can do about it. You just have to wait till you get to the first screen and then head right again. You know something? I really wish I were a Predator. Because then I could rip the fucking skulls out of the game designers' heads! So anyway, after that, you head right again. And of course, the fucking enemies respawn. Plus, if you fall into the river again for any reason, that's right, you guessed it, back to the beginning again. This is so fucking aggravating! Anyway, moving on, in this first part, there are two different paths that you can take. You can take the high road or the low one. On the lower path, there's an entrance. But you can't go through it. Instead, you have to jump right to get to the next level. Way to confuse me. The upper path leads to another hard-as-fuck jungle level, so I just skipped it. Level 2 is yet another fucking nightmare. It looks ugly as shit, and it's full of those weird fucking aliens from the NES game. But it gets even worse. If you fall into the lower part of the level, you can land in these energy fields that sap away your life quicksfill. Then there are these alien statues that can also take away your life very quickly. It's like, don't go to the bottom of this level unless you want to end up dead. The only way to escape is to go back up to a higher screen. But with these fucking statues and these platforms, it's nearly impossible. The easier way is to go back to the first screen, then head up and around. Even that's tough though because of the fucking precision jumping. You can go up and fall back down over and over and over again. It's infuriating! And this one screen here with the floating testicle. Dear Christ! It is nearly impossible to get across without taking any damage. And if you fall back down to the lower level with the energy fields and the statues... God! Excuse me, I'm gonna go ram my head into the nearest fucking wall. Oh, and let's not forget that butterflies attack you. Yes, butterflies. If anybody out there can tell me what the fuck this has to do with the movie Predator, I'd love to hear the explanation. So when you finally manage to get through this pink alien hell, you end up fighting the Predator. Gee, thanks for putting something from the movie into the game. Now, I will give the game 2 points of credit. For one thing, the game does give you a life power-up at the battle. And two, there is a detail I like about the Predator. He starts out invisible except for his eyes, and as you damage him, he becomes more visible. It's a nice touch from the movie. Still, this boss battle is way too easy. His patterns are painfully predictable, and his shots can be easily avoided. So long as you keep dodging and hitting him, it's a cinch to beat him. After he's gone, you can go to the next level. But after 2 levels, I had enough. You only get 6 lives and no continues, while the other game gives you infinite continues. Not that I'd want to use them, but at least the NES game allows for some failures. The only thing you can get in this fucking game are some 1-ups. Combine the terrible controls with the awful jumps and the limited number of lives, and there was no way in hell that I was going to keep on playing this game. And from what I've seen of this piece of shit, it doesn't have a big mode either. If the game has it, I ain't looking for it. The music is pretty much the same as the NES version, so I ain't gonna torture you guys by playing it. My final assessment of this game is simple. Predator for the MSX2 is so fucking awful that I wouldn't play the rest of it if you offered me $10 million tax-free. Just don't even bother with it. It's that bad. So in conclusion, play this game and you will be in a world of hurt. Go watch the first movie instead. It's a much better use of your time. Mission Impossible is a game that you shouldn't choose to accept. If the game designers really wanted to do us a favor, they would have had the game self-destruct after 5 seconds. So anyway, let's get into it. Mission Impossible for the Game Boy Color. If I had to judge the game based solely on its graphics, I'd have to say that they're not too bad. Though honestly, they're not that great either. The main character is Ethan Hunt from the movies. And actually, he does look pretty cool in that black suit he's wearing. However, I think he looks less like Tom Cruise's character from the movies and more like Neo from The Matrix. But considering how generic the rest of this game looks, they could have plugged almost any other action hero from any other movie into this game, and it wouldn't have made any difference. Also, the enemy characters do look okay. If nothing else, at least you can distinguish them from Hunt's character. But the background graphics look really dull and lifeless. Look at all these drab purples and greens. The color scheme just sucks the life right out of the game. At best I can say, the graphics are functional and bland. They get the job done, but they don't really do the game any favors. Next up is the controls. As usual, you use the keypad to move up, down, left, and right. Holding down A and moving in a specific direction allows you to run, while B allows you to jump kick, shoot your gun, and use certain items. Also, you can crawl on the ground by pressing and holding select and moving in a particular direction. Your main weapon is a pistol with unlimited ammo, but you also get a limited number of stun grenades in certain levels. In addition, you get this kind of weird jump kick that I mentioned earlier. However, this move is really problematic. Why, you might ask? Because you have to time it just right or else it won't work. Either you'll shoot your gun by mistake or get knocked down by the enemy. It would have worked much better if Hunt had a takedown move like he did in the movies. But no, he gets this lousy kick that misses as often as it hits. Aside from that crappy kick, though, the controls aren't that bad. When it comes to gameplay, though, the game goes from competent to catastrophic in 10 seconds flat. Allow me to elaborate. The game is not based off of any of the Mission Impossible movies or the TV series. Essentially, they made up their own plot, which is fine. But it is the most generic plot ever. Some evil general in a foreign country has missiles, and you gotta stop him, yada yada yada. Yeah, real original. I've only seen that plot about 10,000 fucking times. Couldn't they have come up with something a little bit more original? Yeah, sure they could. Now this cliched story might be bearable if the game were well made. Alas, it's not. The gameplay literally redefines the word pointless. Here's an example. In the first level, you have to meet with your contact at a statue. But then you're told you have to go to a safe house because it's not safe to meet on the streets. Yeah, I know, because 2 guards that you can easily run past are such a threat. So then you go to the safe house and you're told that you have to go to a government building to download some information. And then you're given a key to get in. I have a question. Why not just give me the key in the first place and have me go to the fucking building? Why do I have to go through all this shit with a statue in the safe house? This game just loves to give you pointless busy work to pad out the gameplay. And there's even more cheap shit like this in other levels. Like in level 2. You have to climb onto the roof of a building and go through the skylight to get in. Okay. But the game throws in a bunch of fake buildings just to fuck with you. Go on the wrong one and you'll just end up back on the ground again. For Christ's sakes, why are all these other buildings in the level? Did the game designers just get a kick out of fucking with me or what? And in nearly every level, there's more stupid shit like this. What's even more annoying though is that the game repeats certain parts of some levels. That's right, they're that fucking lazy. One example of this is in missions 3 and 7. You mean to tell me they couldn't make one fucking different level? No, that would actually require some effort on our part. We're not going to do that. Another problem with this game is the hit detection in the AI. Look at this. In certain parts of the game, you can avoid enemies by just crawling past them. And they're supposed to be on the lookout for you. Even more absurd is that you can sometimes crawl/float through enemies. Not only that, the enemies will literally walk right through Tom Cruise's ass. So if you ever wanted to play a game where you can have enemies pass right through Tom Cruise's butt, this is the one for you. Oh, and this one takes the cake. In the last level, you can walk in between 2 guards and they won't even see you. Jesus Christ, did a fucking blind man program this game? You know, playtesting is usually done so you can find mistakes like this and fix them! If you consistently let shit like this slide, then maybe you should not be making video games. Yet another problem is the difficulty. Some of these levels are just ridiculously fucking difficult. And not just because they're hard on their own, oh no, because they're fucking cheap. For example, level 7. They have these landmines that will drive you fucking crazy! To be fair though, you do get a mine detector to help you. But it is literally the shittiest device ever! It has a range of about like a half an inch. You have to walk right next to a mine and hear one of the most annoying sounds ever. Thanks a lot for raping my fucking ears, you piece of shit game! And if you walk so much as a millimeter further, you're gonna get blown up. Couldn't they have done it like Metal Gear for the NES and actually show you where the mines are? Or at the very least give you some fucking distance before you hit one? Of course not! And just to add insult to injury, they put like 1,000 fucking mines around the area! Never mind Ethan Hunt, how does an ordinary guard walk around this area without getting blown up? And while I'm on the subject of guards, they're another big problem. If you try and engage in a horizontal gun battle with these guys, you're almost certain to lose. Because they'll draw their gun at the same time you do, and you'll both kill each other. Overall, the best strategy is to either avoid them or shoot them from above or below. Because taking them head-on is virtual suicide. This game has 10 levels, and every single one of them is a dull slog. Go here, do this, go there, do that, blah blah blah. It's like they couldn't decide whether to make this a stealth game or an action one. So they did both, and they both suck. One other issue in this game is that Ethan Hunt is weak as hell. If you get shot 1 or more times, you lose a life. Okay, I guess that's realistic. But if he gets punched even once, he also loses a life. Look, I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise fan in the world, but even I think he's not that much of a wuss. They couldn't just give him a life meter? Oh no, that would make things too easy. When you finally beat the game, you're treated to a really shitty ending. Go vacationing on a beach? Yeah, I should have done that instead of playing this fucking game. As for the sound effects and music in this game, they're horrendous. Just listen to this alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another nominee for the Bad Sound Effect Hall of Fame.
And as if that isn't bad enough, they totally butchered the Mission Impossible theme. Here, listen. music is so bad that I think it was literally designed to make people shit themselves. And if that's the case, then mission accomplished. To sum up, calling this game Mission Impossible is an insult to the TV series and the movies. And if the game designers had any good sense, they would have disavowed it instead of releasing it. So in conclusion, maybe in the future somebody will make a good game based off the Mission Impossible franchise. But if they're anything like this game, then it won't be for a long while. I have to admit something, guys. I thought this boss battle in the second level of the Untouchables for the Super Nintendo was pretty funny. Yes, it's stupid as all fucking hell, I won't deny that, but it's so goddamn absurd that it really just made me laugh. But then again, it comes from Ocean, so is that really much of a surprise? They've got enough stupid shit in their games to keep me in business for the next 20 years. So anyway, let's get into it. Stupid boss battles, the Untouchables, the cable car fight. You start the boss fight out on a platform and you're given a shotgun with 2 rounds. Although you have unlimited ammo, you can only shoot 2 rounds at a time before you have to reload, and it takes a second to do this. Soon after the round starts, a cable car with 2 gangsters will come towards you and then stop a few feet from you. Once they stop, you only have a few seconds to blow them away before they open up on you with their machine guns. After you kill the 2 gangsters, the cable car retreats for a few seconds. Then it comes back with 2 more gangsters and you blow them away. Then it retreats once again and comes back with, that's right, you guessed it, 2 more gangsters whom once again you blow away. Unless you have the brain of a fucking gnat, I think you can guess what happens next. This absurdity just keeps going on and on and on and on. Occasionally, for shits and giggles, they'll throw in a gunman on a chain who'll swing down and try to shoot you, but he's easily dispatched with 1 shot. The only real threat in this boss fight, if you can even call it that, is a grenade that occasionally gets chucked up towards you. Who's throwing it at you? I don't know. Another gangster? Cable car foreman? Fucking Santa Claus? Who knows? However, this grenade can kill you in 1 hit, so you do want to avoid it, unless you like losing a life. But even that ain't much of a threat, because all you have to do to avoid it is to stay in the extreme left or right hand side of the screen. As you can well imagine, this battle gets very, very boring very, very fast. And if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, which is probably more than the game designers ever thought about it, it doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Why send a pair of guys at your enemy on an exposed cable car where they can be easily blown away? And then fucking do it again, and again, and again! It's really quite funny and absurd if you think about it. In my mind's eye, I can see 2 lines of gangsters stretching outside of the warehouse, and then across the city, and then across the country, stretching out into fucking infinity. And once 2 of the gangsters are blown away, 2 more step up, and then the big boss says, okay guys, here's what you're gonna do. We're gonna send you over on the cable car to get shotgunned to death, and if you're lucky, maybe just maybe you can get a hit or 2 on this guy before you're killed. And then the gangsters say,
Okay, boss, that sounds like a good idea, let's do it.
So they're sent over, and surprise, kablamo, they're both blown away. Then the cable car comes back, 2 more gangsters step up, and the boss gives the same spiel all over again. You would think after maybe about the 20th or 30th time, some of these guys might be a little, I don't know, hesitant? Especially seeing how the inside of the cable car is probably covered in blood and guts and flecks of bone and brain matter. But nope, they just keep on going right across. What was Einstein's definition of insanity again? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And if that's the case, then this is fucking insane. After a while, I began to feel so sorry for the gangsters I actually let them shoot me to death just so they could accomplish something. You know what the worst part of this boss battle is, though? The worst part is that the game designers had the tools to make a good boss battle right in front of them. For example, the grenades. Instead of just throwing 1 at you, why not throw 3 or 4 or 5? Make it harder on the player. Make you actually have to sweat a little and move out of the way or else you get blown up. And instead of that stupid-ass cable car, why not position snipers on the other side of the factory? If you step in the wrong spot, you get your head blown off. Or if they had to use that stupid fucking cable car, at least have the fucking guys in it duck. Who knows, maybe they could even throw a grenade or 2 at you. And the guys on chains, you can use them too. Instead of just dropping down and firing a random shot, why don't they just drop on you and attack you directly? Hell, they could even make the platform collapsible. You could only have a limited amount of time to kill all the bad guys before the platform collapses and kills you. But no, we can't have that. We just have to have a generic timer. Please, whatever you do, don't make the boss battle interesting because we wouldn't want that. Just bore the ever-loving fuck out of me by sending guys back and forth, on and on. Oh, I'm sorry, was I still supposed to be awake for this? Perhaps even more lame than anything else is the end of this boss battle. After you kill a certain number of bad guys, say about 50 billion, the cable car comes to a stop and you can blast its hinges off. Also, you can occasionally get shots on the hinges after you kill the bad guys. But in any case, once you kill the requisite number of bad guys, the thing just fucking hangs there. And then what do the bad guys do? Why, nothing, of course! At this late stage of the battle, why fucking bother to do anything? Hell, why even have a boss battle? Why don't you shoot the fucking thing once and have it blow up? At least it'll save me the fucking trouble of shooting a bunch of stupid-ass gangsters. So yeah, anyway, you blow it off its hinges and it crashes to the ground, you win one for American democracy, and yeah, that's great, can I go home and bone my wife now? The only good thing about this boss battle is the music. Sure, you won't be humming the tune an hour after you play it, but at least the music isn't so bad that it makes you want to pour boiling oil into your ears. Looking back, I can't hate this boss battle too much. At least it made me laugh, which is more than I can say for a number of other boss battles. So in conclusion, this boss battle is such a silly, boring waste of time that I don't know why anyone would want to play it. Unless, of course, you like mowing down a bunch of hapless morons trapped in a hanging box, in which case, have at it. When I first heard about this Planet of the Apes game, I thought it was based off the abysmal 2001 Tim Burton remake. However, as it turns out, it's actually based off the original 1968 film. So I figured, a game based off the original classic Apes film? They couldn't possibly screw that up. But boy was I wrong. So anyway, let's get into it. Planet of the Apes for the Game Boy Advance. I'll say this for the game. The graphics do look fairly sharp. Heston's character Taylor does look somewhat like his movie counterpart, as do the apes. In addition, the game does a decent, if not spectacular job representing the backgrounds from the movie. There's the desert, the ape village, and the Statue of Liberty in the Forbidden Zone, among other levels. But there's also some odd levels, like this shiny cave. I don't know, maybe they got the Land of Oz mixed up with post-apocalyptic Earth. My only complaint with the graphics are the cutscenes. They look rather washed out and unappealing. I wish they had used stills from the movie instead. Where Planet of the Apes really starts to falter, though, is in the controls. Given that they're pretty simple, though, you wouldn't think they'd be that bad. You move left and right with the control pad. Up allows you to jump straight upward, grab onto objects, and climb up them, while down allows you to drop off cliffs and duck. Tap down and left or right and you can inch your way forward. Tap it too hard, though, and you'll end up doing a roll. And I'll get to that more in a bit. A allows you to jump forward and use a weapon or item. But to draw weapons, you have to press B first. And to holster them, you have to press B again. And the L and R buttons allow you to select your inventory as shown at the top of the screen. Now when it comes to this control scheme, I think I know what the game designers were trying to go for. They were trying to make a game that played like Prince of Persia, Flashback, Another World, or Blackthorn. You know, a game with more realistic controls. And that's all well and good. But they managed to mangle this control scheme horribly! Let me give you an example. For one thing, getting onto these slightly higher platforms is ridiculous! You can't just jump forward onto them. Oh no, that would be too easy. So if you repeatedly try to jump onto a slightly higher platform, you'll just keep on bouncing off it like duh 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 duh. No, to have Taylor get onto these platforms, you have to press forward and have him hop onto them. What is with these pissy fucking controls? Just let me jump on them. But no, they had to make things more complicated than they needed to be. Oh, and I hope you like doing running jumps off of cliffs and hanging onto other ones and having to climb back up them. Because you're going to have to do that over and over and over again. Furthermore, the controls are way too sensitive. And this really comes into play with the ducking, as I mentioned earlier. Say you're standing by a spike pit. You duck and inch your way a little bit forward so you can make the jump. But if you press forward just a little bit too hard, you end up rolling into the pit and dying. Couldn't they have given you a button combination to make you roll, like say down and forward and A? No, they have to make the controls so slippery that you can fuck up easily. Even doing simple shit is annoying. Like reaching down to pick up items. If you have a weapon drawn, you can't just reach down and pick up the item. Oh no. You have to holster your weapon, duck, make sure you're on the item, then press down to pick it up. You mean to tell me that you can't press down and have Taylor pick something up with his free hand? What, does he have bad motor coordination or something? This is fucking ridiculous! Yet as bad as the controls are, the gameplay is even worse! Your big mission in this game is to pick up flags. I'm not kidding! In every single level, you go around picking up fucking flags! Worse yet, these flags aren't even required to beat the levels. Couldn't the game designers have given me something more substantial to do? Like, I don't know, maybe escaping from the goddamn apes?
No, we're gonna give you busy work picking up flags.
Alright, in fairness, the game does have some actual apes. But they're so stupid that all they do is walk back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. After going through thousands of years of evolution, you would think these apes might have some intelligence. But nope, they're dumb as bricks. They just pace back and forth repeatedly. Oh yeah, and maybe occasionally attack you too. So much for evolution. Actually, I shouldn't be blaming evolution. I should be blaming the game designers for not putting in any fucking decent AI. Admittedly, the game does occasionally throw in an extra task, like activating a bridge. But by and large, it's the same shit over and over again. Collect flags and kill apes. That's it. After a short time, the gameplay becomes extremely dull. Even some of the obstacles are fucking lame. Like a cactus. Yes, cacti block your way and you have to chop them down with your knife. I am not making this shit up. And the funny thing is, they don't even hurt you. So why put it in there? At this rate, they may as well put a fucking Christmas tree in your way, because it doesn't make any difference. What's really annoying though is the cheap tricks that the game designers use to make this game harder. Like positioning enemies in a really tight spot. You have to climb up, slowly draw your weapon, and attack it. And by that time, you're pretty much certain to get damage. In certain cases, it's better to avoid enemies than fight them. Especially since you don't have to kill all of them anyway. But sometimes the game forces you into a tight spot, and you're going to take damage no matter what the hell you do. And then there are obstacles like these instant kill shit pits. You have to time your running jumps just right, or you'll fall in and die. Which isn't always the easiest thing in the world to do when the controls are so terrible. There's another thing that kind of bothers me about this game. They put these weird fucking enemies in the game that aren't even apes. Snakes, bears, and billy goats. Yes, billy goats. Snakes and bears, okay. But billy goats? Is this Noah's Ark or Planet of the Apes? Some of the enemies, though, are admittedly interesting. Like these telepathic mutants from the second Apes movie. Why they put them in a game of the first movie, I don't know. I guess they just decided to combine parts of the first and second film. But anyway, one type of mutant shoots a gun at you. And the other kind shoots, telepathic gum bubbles at you. Yeah, right. Just go with it. The last level of the game takes place in the destroyed underground city from the second film. And just like with the apes, the game puts you in cheap, tight spots with the mutants just to give you some extra damage. This game is supposed to be the Planet of the Apes, not Planet of the Assholes. Oh, and you want to see the final boss? Get ready for this. It's a big ape with a machine gun, whom you can kill quickly with a machine gun burst of your own. For fuck's sake, why even have a boss if you're not even going to try to make him difficult? It's so pointless. After that, you walk past the big bomb and the game's over. What's even more aggravating is the hash they made out of the second movie's ending. In this version, Taylor doesn't blow up the whole world. No, in this version, the other astronaut stops the bomb from going off. And then one of the apes takes Taylor's time shuttle and does something and goes somewhere. It's so confusingly laid out that I'm not even exactly sure what happened. At this rate, they may as well have used the Ape Lincoln ending from the remake, because it couldn't be any fucking worse than this. As for the game's music, it sucks. They use the same damn theme in every single level. Here, listen. Couldn't they have given us some music from the movie? No, we're just going to give you elevator music for the whole game. This could be some of the worst fucking music I've ever heard in any game. And the fact that they couldn't even make one different tune for any of the levels is doubly insulting. Whoever signed off on this motherfucking score should have a fucking trombone shoved up their fucking ass. Despite having great source material to work with, the game designers fumbled this one big time. Unless you like being bored and frustrated, I'd give this game a pass. So in conclusion, Planet of the Apes doesn't work as an adaptation of the original movies, nor does it work on its own terms. To paraphrase Taylor from the first movie, it should be damned to hell. There's been a lot of bad games based on the James Bond films, but some of them are so terrible that you really have to wonder why they bothered making them in the first place. Case in point, James Bond 007. Overall, it's boring, drab, and insanely difficult. So anyway, let's get into it. James Bond 007 for the Commodore 64. To start off, I'm not going to slam the game's graphics that much. After all, it came out in 1984, so what do you expect? Having said that, even for an 80s game, the graphics look really generic. In fact, they're so generic that virtually nothing stands out as being from the James Bond films. Aside from the title screens, this could be any game. Despite the graphical limitations of the time, they still could have done more to make it look like a James Bond game. Also, I'm not sure what certain objects are supposed to be. What the fuck is this? A hand blender from hell? Actually, I think it's supposed to be a satellite. But who the fuck knows? The game sure doesn't make it easy to figure out. And there's diamonds floating in the sky. Yes, I know this level is based off the movie Diamonds Are Forever, but they're taking it too literally in this case. One other issue with the graphics is when the game flashes. If you blast a diamond, the game flashes temporarily. And if you blast several diamonds, the game flashes for several seconds. So if you're an epileptic, watch out. You might end up getting a grand mal seizure from this game. Did the game designers even think about that when they made this fucking piece of shit? Well, obviously not, because they kept it in the game. Moving on, the controls in this game are really confusing. On the title screen, F1 starts the game. Number 1 on the keyboard makes you jump, while 2 allows you to move forward to about mid-screen. The other number buttons also allow you to jump and move forward to a certain degree, and the A button allows you to move back to the left side of the screen. As I said, it's really confusing. It would have been much better if they allowed you to use the keypad instead. So of course they don't do that! Your sole weapon in the game are the missiles from your car, and they can be fired with the spacebar. But then these fucking missiles go off in odd directions, which makes it even harder to hit anything. Worse yet, the controls feel really sluggish. And in a side-scrolling driving game where you have to avoid pits and projectiles, that's a real deal-breaker. However, even if the controls were tight as hell, the basic setup on the keyboard sucks. It's almost like they designed this game to be as unwieldy as humanly possible. As for the gameplay, it ain't much better. On the select screen, you can choose from Novice or Agent difficulty, which doesn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of difference because the game's hard as shit either way. Along with the difficulty, you can select from 1 or 2 players, though you'd have to be pretty fucking desperate for friends to get anybody to play this shit pile. When the game begins, you get a pick of some guy whom I guess is supposed to be James Bond. I don't know, I guess you're just supposed to use your imagination. Anyway, you get in Bond's car and you take off for the desert. Yes, a desert full of lava pits that looks like the fucking moon. I'm guessing verisimilitude was not high on their list of priorities when they made this game. In any case, you have to drive along and avoid projectiles from above. Plus you have to jump over lava pits and blast diamonds out of the air. Unfortunately, your missiles can only blast the diamonds. That's right, you can't destroy the satellites. Nice, just fucking lovely. At this rate, the car may as well fire out fucking tampons. What really pisses me off, though, are these goddamn satellites. They drop bombs on the ground that make even more pits. And this makes maneuvering even more difficult. You manage to clear one pit, then bam, another one opens up and you fall right into it. You basically have to jump and move and hope you can get across. Of course, if the controls were any better, this might be a little fucking easier. Nope, though, we can't have that. We gotta make the gameplay cheap and unfair. I also have one question. What the fuck does this have to do with Diamonds Are Forever? I don't remember any part of the movie where he's jumping over lava pits in his car. This game has almost nothing to do with James Bond. You just drive around, avoid projectiles, and crash into pits until you run out of lives. The gameplay is so boring that after about 5 minutes, I can almost guarantee that you're going to want to quit. Unless, of course, you have a grand mal seizure first, in which case you'll probably only be playing this game for about 30 seconds. If by some miracle you manage to get far enough, the car turns into a boat and you go on the water. Oh, but first you have to jump over this little bit of land or else you'll crash and lose a life. But the control scheme is so fucked up that it makes it a lot harder to do than it should be. And once you're on the water, there's even more shit to deal with. Not only are there more satellites, now you gotta face divers too. And these frogmen have almost perfect aim. Even if you're nearly past them, they can still kill you. The game does give you 5 lives. But it's so fucking hard that you'll piss through them like a drunk on a Jägermeister bender. The game's music is alright. It has an okay rendition of the Bond theme. Here, listen. It won't win any awards, but at least it's not horrible. Honestly, I think the very idea of this game was flawed right from the start. If they wanted to do a Bond game, they should have done something more like Berserk or River Raid. Because the game as it is now is just pure junk. So in conclusion, even if you're a big Bond enthusiast, skip this game and go play GoldenEye instead. At least that one is worthy of the film series' legacy. Many games, even some bad ones, wait a little while before they really start fucking with you. Not Driver, though! Oh no! This game fucks with you in the tutorial! That's right, the very first level. The one that's supposed to help you get accustomed to the game's controls is so bad that it literally made some gamers rage quit. That takes some real skill in the sucking department right there, let me tell you. So anyway, let's get into it. Levels from Hell, Driver for the PlayStation 1, the tutorial. The game starts you out in a parking garage. You're given a spiffy little black car and a list of moves to perform. Now in most games, this is the part where they would start telling you how to perform certain moves and baby you into the game. You know, let you make a few mistakes and get used to things. Not this game, though! You see all these moves on the upper right-hand side of the screen? You have to perform all of them correctly in under a minute or else you fail and you have to start all over again. What the fuck is this Mickey Mouse bullshit? Did they really expect new gamers to just get it all right from the start? Now some of the moves like the burnout and handbrake are easy to do. But some of them like the reverse 180 are hard as hell to perform. Even the slalom move took me a little while to figure out. Also, I had some trouble figuring out the speed and brake tests at first. Until I realized that you had to race toward a wall and then jam on the brakes like an asshole. I'll be blunt, folks. This is the worst tutorial I've ever played. I have never played a game that literally fucked you over this much right from the start. And as if that isn't enough, you only get 3 hits on the car. That's right. Crash into anything 4 times and you lose the level. Fuck this game! Why don't you just make it 1 hit while you're at it? Alright, to be fair, they do give you unlimited chances to succeed. But the prospect of playing this level repeatedly is about as appealing as having a smelly 600-pound fat woman sit on your face over and over again. Oh, and by the way, this tutorial is not optional. Yes, my friends, you have to beat this part to get to the main missions. Oh, come on! This is so wrong on so many levels. If you pay for a game, you should be able to play the game. Not fart around for a year and a day on some cocksucking tutorial. Now, one thing I didn't see in a lot of reviews and videos, even the Watch Mojo one, is that the game does give you a demo part showing you how to perform the moves on the controller. Also, there's a part where you can follow a shadow car that's doing the moves. Okay, so the game does make some allowances to let you get used to the controls. But my question is, why do this tutorial like this at all? Why piss off and alienate your customers right from the get-go? It makes no sense. Could you imagine this kind of tutorial in any other game? Grand Theft Auto 3? Fallout 3? Max Payne? The worst part is that this is not necessary. They could have had an ordinary tutorial level or just let you learn on the go. Hell, they could have done any number of other things with this tutorial. Like getting rid of the time limit and giving you more hits. Or let you ace the moves one at a time instead of all at once. Or at least put it out in the open instead of a cramped parking garage. And it doesn't help that the car moves like a tank. Actually, I think it would be easier to drive a tank. Come to think of it, driving in real life is easier. I remember when I got my driver's license, the instructor let me pass without even having to parallel park. Christ, I couldn't even imagine trying to pass a driver's test and do the K-turn, parallel parking, and everything else in under a minute. Could you? Even after beating this level, sometimes I still can't do it. That's right. I practice a bunch of times and sometimes I still fail. So even practice doesn't help. What a level! And here's another aggravation for you. Not only do you fail constantly, the game insults you in the bargain.
Maybe I'll give you a call when I need a ride to the grocery store.
Maybe I'll give you a call when I need a ride to the grocery store.
Maybe you can go kiss my rosy red ass, you fucking cockmonger! Like I said earlier, this is the worst tutorial ever. In fact, it's so bad that it should have been axed during the planning stages. That it made it into the final product shows some real lack of thought on the part of the people who made this game. I mean, what's next? How about this? If you fail the tutorial, the game blows up and takes your console out with it. Or how about this? Each time you fail the tutorial, a 300-pound big muscular guy covered in tattoos comes up behind you and stomps you in the genitals. Or fuck, why stop there while we're at it? Fail the tutorial and you get AIDS. Or you get electroshocked. Or you just fucking die. Sounds like a whole lot of fucking fun, right? You'd have more fun sucking camel farts in the Sahara. Jesus, and I thought the game designers from Cutthroat Island weren't human. Those people are angels compared to the fucking sociopaths who designed this level. At the end of the day, all I can say is this. This level can go fuck itself to hell. So in conclusion, even if you like the game, I don't see how you can defend this level. It is pure garbage, and I don't blame anyone for quitting the game because of it. What the fuck did I just play? Seriously, what the fuck did I just play? That was my reaction when I got done playing the A-Team for the Atari 2600. I don't have a fucking clue what I just played, honestly. I'm just fucking baffled. With most games that I review, I have some kind of frame of reference. I can say, well, this is good and this is bad, but this one, what the fuck? What can I fucking say? You just have to see it, guys. You just watch and marvel at the insanity. So let's get into it. The A-Team for the Atari 2600. The game starts out with a nice little intro. I like the idea of the A-Team title taking off as a missile. Not bad for Atari 2600. And then we get into the game and what the fuck is this? How is this the A-Team? We got Mr. T's head and... well, the title has the word A-Team, so I guess it must be A-Team. Before I go any further, I just want to ask the game designers one thing. How much fucking cocaine were you snorting when you made this game? It had to be at least a couple of oil tankers worth of coke. Come on. The graphics are... what they are. Christ, I feel like I'm inside a fucking ABBA video. I would say they're terrible, but honestly, I kind of like them. It's just so fucking nutty that you almost gotta admire it in a way. For Atari 2600, it's really not that bad. I mean, especially when you compare it to a game like, say, Superman. And at least I can tell that the main character is Mr. T, or Mr. T's head. I don't have the foggiest notion where the hell I am. I guess it's some kind of launch complex or something. So I can't say that the graphics accurately represent the location, but I guess you just have to use your imagination. And these enemies, I'm at a fucking loss here. We got what looks like the Riddler, and Toth from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and some kind of mad scientist, and a fucking janitor's mop bucket or something. Are these guys even enemies? I mean, the one Riddler guy's shooting at me, so he's gotta be an enemy. But these other ones, they're just fucking running back and forth like they got a fucking bug up their ass or something. I looked up the game, and as it turns out, they're building a missile to be launched. Where and why, I have no fucking clue. But come on, does this place really look like a fucking missile factory to you? Could you imagine any missile factory with purple walls? And what exactly am I in? Is it like a vent or a corridor or a tunnel? I don't know. Trying to make sense of these graphics is an exercise in futility. Unlike the graphics, however, the controls are easy to work out. You move left and right along a single corridor, and you can shoot in multiple directions using the fire button. And that's it! The gameplay is divided into 3 different levels. In this first part it says that you have to save Hannibal, but it doesn't seem like he's anywhere to be found. Not to mention the fact that you gotta stop a fucking missile from being built from the ground up! Oh yeah, and I also have to kill the Riddler and Toth and all these mad scientists and janitor buckets. You know what? Fuck Hannibal, he can go save himself. After the missile reaches a certain height, the first part ends. Assuming that is you haven't been killed off or you shut the goddamn game off out of sheer boredom and frustration. Occasionally you can get a bonus, though I'm not sure why. I'm guessing it's because you killed enough of these scientists and technician guys to stop them from building the missile. But who knows, maybe the game just gives you a bonus because you stuck with it for this long. Anyway, moving on, the second part gets even weirder, if that's possible. You end up in some kind of, I don't know if it's a boss fight or a standoff or a fucking dance competition. And what you have to do is, get this, what you have to do is shoot lightning out of Mr. T's head, then have it bounce off the leprechaun, go to the bottom of the screen, and hit the rectangles and squares that are passing by. And no, I am not stoned out of my mind on LSD. That is literally what you have to do. Alright, let's just step back here for a moment. First of all, how the fuck can Mr. T shoot lightning out of his head? Did Raiden give him the fucking power, or did he shove a cattle prod up his ass? And why the fuck does it have to bounce off the leprechaun? What, is he making it magically delicious? And what the fuck am I hitting at the bottom of the screen? Is it the leprechaun's gold or Willy Wonka's chocolate prophylactics? Also, there's these weird balls bouncing around the screen, and if you get hit by one, you lose a life. I'm not even gonna hazard a guess as to what they are. And what exactly are you doing here? Well, as it turns out, you're trying to stop a warhead from being built. Yeah, 'cause it's so easy to tell that from what's happening on screen. And what's with the fucking green guy always walking towards me? It's a little, creepy. No thanks, pal. I don't want to taste your rainbow. And at long last, we come to the third and final part. Once the timer runs out, the missile launches and you end up in the, I don't know, it's either the Matrix or the Jolly Green Giant's butt crack. Either way, you have to shoot a laser at this thing, and now he's shooting lasers. First he's shooting lightning, now he's shooting lasers. Great! Anyway, you avoid all the crap he's shooting at you, and you fire one laser blast at him and destroy him. That's some boss, huh? One shot, one kill. Then he explodes or disintegrates or something, and you end up right back at the beginning again. Nope, I'm not going through this crap again. Once was quite enough, thank you. The only other connection that this game has to the A-Team is that when you lose all your lives, the theme plays for a short time. And it's actually an alright rendition of the A-Team theme, in an ear-grating sort of way. Honestly, I don't know whether to recommend this game or not. It's short and awful, but it's also so wacky that it might actually make you smile a little. So in conclusion, later on I found out that this game was based on another Atari game called Saboteur. But at the last second they decided to incorporate the A-Team characters into the Saboteur game, which might explain why this game feels so schizoid. However, Atari's tinkering came to naught because both games ended up unreleased. And at least in this game's case, I can see why. I was quite surprised when I found that there was a Highlander game for the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, and the Amstrad CPC. So I figured, why not give the Amstrad CPC version a whirl? As long as the machine doesn't stand for complete piece of crap, how bad could it really be? Well guys, this has been a fun review. Nice talking to you. Bye! Alright, fine, I will review the fucker. Highlander for the Amstrad CPC, courtesy of our fucking friends at Ocean. Highlander is a fighting game divided into 3 different levels. In the first level you face off against Ramirez, in the second level you face off against Fazil, and in the final level you face off against the Kurgan. But unlike most fighting games, you have to load each level into the computer separately. When you start the game up, you're treated to some music that could charitably be called ear-bleedingly bad. I don't know how it sounds on other versions of the game, but here it just sounds awful. Thankfully, though, there's no music while you're actually dueling. Otherwise, I think I'd fucking hang myself. Anyway, moving on to the fight with Ramirez, the background graphics actually look pretty good in my opinion. Alright, it's not going to win any awards, but at least they went to some trouble to make it look like the movie, so I'll give them credit for that. Even McCloud and Ramirez look like their movie counterparts, so that's another point for the game. The only thing I don't like about the graphics is that the swords look a little chunky and pixelated, but given the time that this game came out, I can live with it. Unfortunately, despite the merits of the graphics, the game's controls really suck. The first time I played this game, I had so much trouble figuring out the controls that I literally had to stand there and get my ass handed to me, or in this case, my head. I thought you had to use the keypad to control the character and the control button to slash, but as it turns out, that's wrong. You have to use the W, A, D, S, and X buttons on the keyboard. W is up, A is left, X is down, D is right, and S is strike. But even after I figured out what to do, the controls are still a fucking nightmare. They are so stiff and unresponsive that I actually thought my keyboard was broken for a while there, but no, they're literally that fucking bad. To do different types of sword blows, you have to press the attack button plus a direction. But the problem is that the moves seem completely arbitrary. In other words, it doesn't feel like you're fighting as McCloud. Instead, you're just responding to the attacks that Ramirez throws at you. Worse yet, the controls feel so friggin' laggy that I wasn't even sure my character was responding at all. For example, I try to bring my sword down on Ramirez, and maybe a second or two later, then he does the action. I tried to follow the manual's suggestion of watching Ramirez's attacks, then blocking and countering them. But again, the controls are so fucking sluggish that my actions seem completely ineffectual. Finally, out of sheer frustration, I'm reduced to pointless button mashing. And the worst part is that sometimes I win through sheer lack of strategy. I just keep pounding the fucking buttons till the other character dies. Even the life meter on the bottom doesn't make any sense. As it turns out, it's not even a life meter so much as it is an energy meter. You start out in the green, and as you gain more blows against your opponent, their green goes down to yellow, and then to red. The more damage they sustain, the weaker their attacks become, and vice versa. However, your opponent will typically try to cheese you by pushing you into a corner so you can't fight back as well. The manual says not to let that happen, and that's nice and all, but there's just one problem. Once again, the controls are so fucking horrible and sluggish that I can't even move forward without the other character pushing me back. So even if I rush up and attack with everything I got, I still get knocked back into a corner. And the lack of response in the controls forced me to stay in that corner and get butchered like a fucking hog. Honestly, I don't even know why they bothered with the energy meter anyway. Why not just have a straight life meter that goes down as you get hit? But considering that they can't even make decent fucking controls for a sword fighting game, I'm probably expecting too much out of them. And the gameplay ain't anything to write home about either. You start out in old Scotland, you fight against Ramirez, and either he kills you or you kill him. And this is a minor pissy point, but why is he killing you? I thought Ramirez's mission in the film was to train McCloud so that he could fight against the Kurgan at the Gathering. But it's gonna be kinda hard to fight against the Kurgan with his fucking head lopped off! Ignoring that little departure from the film, I have to say that the gameplay is really fucking repetitive. I'm aware that fighting games by their very nature are repetitive, but at least most better fighting games do something different. They give you new opponents with different attacks, or they radically alter the fighting environment, or they do something different. But in this case, it seems like all three of your opponents are almost exactly alike. And the only difference is that Fazil and the Kurgan can kill you a little bit faster. I did try fighting a couple of battles with Ramirez to see if I could win anything, but the controls were so awful and the gameplay so repetitive that after a while I just said the hell with it. I don't know if you win anything after a certain number of battles, and frankly, I don't fucking care! Out of a perverse sense of curiosity, I decided to load up the Kurgan fight just to see if there was anything different about it. Nope, there's no difference, aside from getting killed off just a little bit faster. Oh, and yeah, they can't spell Kurgan right either. They must have consulted the irate gamer for this one. Still, out of some kind of madness, I just wanted to beat the son of a bitch once. And I finally managed to do it. Only took me about 70 fucking times. Considering how poorly made and boring this game is, I'm surprised they didn't go for a more hack-and-slash adventure type game like Ninja Gaiden. Then again, they probably would have found some way to fuck that up too. You know, I would rather watch Highlander 2 The Quickening. Yes, that movie. I'd rather watch that than play this fucking game ever again. At least I know I'd derive some kind of pleasure out of it. So in conclusion, all I can say is this. You know how they say in the Highlander films there can be only one? Well, in the case of this game, there should have been none. Games like Pesterminator are so horrible that they make you wonder why they were ever made at all. Who in their right mind would want to waste their time on such a futile endeavor? Color Dreams made it? Huh, well that explains everything. They always seem to waste everybody's time making shit, but this game is really dreadful, even for them. So anyway, let's get into it. Pesterminator for the NES. This game looks really ugly and cheap. The colors are so jarring and garish that the game is a real eyesore to look at. And some of the colors are so bad that they actually make me feel nauseous. Even worse, the game designers got really cheap in some of these levels. Levels 1 and 4 are merely palette swap versions of each other. And the same goes for levels 3 and 6. Jesus Christ! Couldn't they have made 2 more original levels? Talk about lazy! Anyway, the game's protagonist is Colonel Cleanup. Yes, that really is his name. It's even spelled wrong in the opening text. This is one of the stupidest names for a character ever! It makes a name like Peter Malark sound like genius. But even if the character had a great name, he still looks fucking awful! To me, he looks like some kind of cross between Abraham Lincoln and John Doe from Seven. Oh, and I like how he has his finger out all the time. Like, pull my finger! Couldn't they have made him look more like an exterminator and less like a fucking hick? And why is he black and white? It really jags against the color background. Plus he uses a hammer to kill pests. I guess he never heard of fumigation. As for the pests, they don't look too good either. Some of them are so crudely rendered that they may as well just be squares on the screen. The controls are just as bad as the graphics. If I could sum them up in one word, that word would be awkward. Some of the levels have a slight 3D feel, and you move the Colonel up and down on a plane. Unfortunately, this makes it harder to hit some of the enemies. But some of the other levels allow you to move on a 2D plane, which makes it a lot easier to take out enemies. Frankly, I think they should have just made the whole game in 2D. It would have been much better. Oh, and what bad game would be complete without switching the buttons on the NES controller? Typically the A button is for jumping and the B button is for attacking, so let's just swap it and make things even more confusing. While I'm on the subject of jumping, it's a huge problem in some parts of the game. Particularly in levels 3 and 6. You have to go onto these high platforms to kill some of the pests. And to get to some of the platforms, you have to do running jumps. But the jumping in this game is so odd that sometimes I feel like I'm walking on air rather than jumping. It's like this asshole is trapped in some kind of retarded version of the Matrix. Plus his character feels really weighed down, which makes it harder to turn. The gameplay ain't gonna win any awards either. The game has 9 levels, and in each one you have to go around a certain area smacking pests. If you hit the select button, a screen will pop up and tell you how many pests are in a given level. Once you've defeated them all, you win. But here's how lazy and incompetent the game designers were. On the select screen, they call the pests bugs. I'm not trying to be Mr. Technical here, but there's some problems with that. Spiders aren't bugs, they're arachnids. They have 8 legs, not 6 like insects. And I don't think rodents, or space aliens, or barrels of toxic waste count as bugs. They could have solved this problem so easily if they just called all the animals pests. And maybe not included the barrels of toxic waste. As if their laziness wasn't enough, the idea of using a hammer to kill a bunch of pests is galactically stupid. Didn't this fucking rube ever hear of pesticides? Still more aggravating is the fact that this hammer is a lousy weapon. It has a really tiny hitbox that makes it difficult as hell to smash anything. And when you hit some of the enemies, they defy gravity and go bouncing around the room like a friggin' ping pong ball. Sometimes they'll even come back and hit you, causing you damage. This is just too fucking ridiculous to believe. They couldn't make this game any worse if they sat down and tried. Oh wait, they did. Some of these pests are nearly impossible to reach. Like this one here in level 6. I try to attack the damn thing, but it knocks me off the platform with one of its shots. Then I have to go all the way back around to get to it again. What makes matters even more annoying is that sometimes you can't tell what you can stand on and what you can't. Basic shit like distinguishing what you can stand on from what you can't. And they couldn't do that! One of the few saving graces in this game is that there's no time limit. So you could be fighting this insect and falling off the platform and going back over and over and over again. Come to think of it, that's not much of a saving grace, is it? There's only one other good point about this game, if you can call it that. You can take on the pests in any order that you see fit. But that doesn't count for very much because they're pretty much all the same. The only differences between them are their designs and the fact that some of them are harder to kill than others. So it really doesn't affect your overall gameplay strategy, which makes it a pointless benefit. Yet another problem with the level design is these doors. Like this one. It looks like you can go through this door, right? Well, you can't. If the people at Color Dreams couldn't successfully distinguish doors and platforms from the backgrounds, then they shouldn't have been in the fucking gaming business! Add to all of that, some of the level design is confusing as hell. Like here in level 2. You exit a door and later go back through that same door and end up outside the hotel. Huh? And when you leave through that same door, you end up back at the beginning of the level. Are these portals to other dimensions, or am I in the fucking TARDIS or something? And the maze in the last level is even worse. Good luck figuring out how to get around there. These problems would be more than enough for any ordinary bad game. But Color Dreams ain't done yet. Oh no. They're just getting started. Cruelty is yet another problem with this game. For example, most of the pests don't take away too much life if they hit you. But toxic waste takes away a full life heart. And at the start of level 6, they put you right under a toxic waste pipe! How is this fair? Even more frustrating are these spinning blades in levels 3 and 6. Touch them once and you lose a life. That is so fucking cheap! And these boxes in level 8-1 are almost as bad. They shoot lethal dingleberries that can take away your health very quickly. And because the level has that slight 3D feel, it's sometimes hard to tell where those things are firing at. Some of the other levels in Pesterminator are just really fucking weird. Like the 5th one. You fly around in a helicopter and drop bombs on insects. What is this, a fucking Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon? Oh, and these bombs are great. They only go in a downward arc, which makes it even harder to hit anything. Stranger still, it takes 2 bombs to blow up these hornets, or whatever the hell they are. And you have to go down and blow them up with a second bomb immediately, or else they'll get back up. Talk about overkill. However, these clouds of insects are the real pain in the ass. One hit from them can take away a whole heart. What, are they made out of titanium? One insect takes out a helicopter. Yeah, right. Despite such annoyances, you can still beat the level easily by flying to the right and dropping a constant stream of bombs. Level 7 takes place underwater. Here you have to take out jellyfish, regular fish, and squids. How are they bugs exactly? And I question the wisdom of blasting open barrels full of toxic waste. Oh, and you can't kill these sharks either. I guess they don't count as pests. In this level, Colonel Cunt has a spear gun. This begs a question. If he can get his hands on bombs, a helicopter, and a spear gun, then why can't he get a fucking can of Raid? Man, this game is so fucking stupid. The only threat in this level are these spitting fish. They can cause a lot of damage. Aside from them, though, the level's pretty easy. You just head right like in the helicopter level and keep blasting shit with your spear gun. The final level takes place on the moon. I'm not even gonna ask how these things can survive in a freezing vacuum. Or why the fucking moon is green. Anyway, you go through the level, you kill more pests, you get killed yourself, blah blah blah. Repetitive is the perfect adjective to describe this game. You would get more variety watching static on a broken TV. Like I mentioned earlier, the final level is a maze. Once again, you have to kill more pests, and yeah, you get the picture. The biggest nuisance in this level are these alien gerbil creatures. They shoot out this red sperm that multiplies and attacks you. Don't ask me, folks. I didn't make this fucking game. Anyway, you have to go through this confusing as hell maze, kill all the pests, and find a key card. When all but one of the enemies are dead, you get to fight the final boss. Ronnie the Rat. A rat. Jesus Christ, why don't you just have him fight a big fucking maggot while you're at it? I would do this part as a stupid boss battles video, but it's so short and easy that it ain't even worth it. You just jump over the blueberries he shoots at you and bop him a couple of times with a hammer. This boss's AI is so pitiful that it's really sad. I would rather get my dick stuck in a mousetrap than play this fucking boss battle. And what is your grand reward for finishing this game? One lousy fucking ending screen. Wow, I feel really fulfilled. The sound effects in this game, oh boy, you just have to hear them. Bing, gong, boop. It's hardly better than the Atari 2600. And the music. Oh dear Lord, the music. Music like this is so fucking bad that it almost makes being deaf seem desirable. The real pest in Pesterminator is not the insects, or the sea animals, or even the aliens. It's the game itself. And like any pest, it should be swatted out of existence. So in conclusion, Color Dreams proves yet again that they can't make a good game to save their lives. And the only color that should be associated with their dreams is shit brown.